Imagine getting stuck inside a corrupted dungeon, then watching your own squad ditch you just to save their own skins, surrounded by beasts ready to take you down. He was just some disposable D rank, but instead of panicking, he flashes this sinister smirk. This is where it gets good. The system pops up with a seriously weird offer. Blasting a massive energy wave, the horde gets wiped out in seconds. The underestimated rookie awakened a cracked legendary hidden class. Not only did he get ridiculously OP, he officially took the throne as the labyrinth's master. Now the most terrifying monsters are nothing but his personal prey. So smash that like button and subscribe, cause this story is wild. In the middle of the city's chaos, a van speeds down the streets. Inside, the squad gets some awful news. A Korean hunter who challenged a 6-star gate failed and had to be rescued by a Japanese S-rank hunter. Following the disaster, the internet is full of comments clowning the situation, and the hype for next year's international competition is only growing. One of the team members complains that the rivalry with Japan is over, but they still make way more money, which is wild. Trying to be optimistic, another hunter says they still gotta have faith in the rookies. Meanwhile, the rescue department leader, Seo Yul, just watches the conversation in silence. Looking at his phone, our boy thinks this kind of worry is for the hunters, not him. The manager tells the optimistic guy to focus on the emergency call, but the kid snaps back, asking why he's always so serious. Shipping in, another guy mentions that at the end of the day, all guilds are the same, and the pressure always falls on them. RMC feels like that's just a typical public worker complaint, and that's simply their job. Then it's explained that the hunter agency is mostly made up of mid-level awakened. Divided into 3 departments, it has athletes, supervision, and rescue. Because of this system, when things go south in the gates, the rescue hunters are the ones saving civilians and other hunters. Our boy then reveals his main role is, suddenly his eyes glow with a purple aura, being a seeker. Right after that, they pull up in front of an energy gate guarded by a bunch of soldiers. The mission leader gathers the squad to give out orders, informing them they're entering the gate to rescue members of the Epic Guild. He tells everyone to stay sharp. Stepping up, a white-haired guy mocks them, saying the rescue department works way too hard. Our MC gets annoyed by the guy's audacity talking to them like that. Turns out, the guy is Baekjun Won, an executive from the massive Overcross Guild. He's known for forcing partner guilds into gates, cashing in without caring if people live or go down. Just a scumbag responsible for countless emergency calls. Getting mad, one of the rescue squad members tells the executive to move since they're in a hurry. Baek just smirks and offers his guild's help, asking if they're sure they don't need it. Was everything being his fault? Our boy thinks it's crazy the guy is still trying to boost his organization's rep. Staring the executive down, he says they handle their own business and don't need a hand. The man replies that it's a shame, watching the team walk into the gate. After they go in, Baek flashes a wicked smile. Surrounded by a jungle landscape inside the gate, a woman begs her injured teammate to stay with her. She lets him know she already sent an SOS and the rescue squad will be there any second. With a monster creeping up from behind, she pleads for her partner not to fade away. Looking up, the girl is in full panic mode. The beast lunges, its claws glowing red as it swipes at her. Squeezing her eyes shut, she expects the worst. But out of nowhere, an attack gets deflected by some blue energy. Our boy jumps in, blocking the creature's strike with his spear. Standing right in front of the 2 survivors, he shields them from a horde of shadow monsters. Stepping closer, our boy asks the rescued hunter if she's alright. He flashes a confident smile, letting her know backup has arrived. Right then, the team manager shouts our MC's name, Seo Yul. He warns that ghouls are flooding the path they just came from, telling the kid to find another way out so they can bail. And that's where it gets crazy. Our boy's eyes start glowing super bright, activating his skill, the Silent Wave. Through this, he maps out the silhouettes of the monsters moving down the dungeon halls. His technique lets him focus on sounds, mapping the whole structure through echoes alone. Keeping the skill active, he tracks every single movement the creatures make. The scan reveals a massive central area inside the dungeon. Finally, tapping into his power, he spots a fresh escape route. So Yul tells the manager he found a path, making his boss think proudly. That's my boy. As they gear up to move, the rescued girl looks back, second-guessing things. Yelling for everyone to move out, the leader gets the squad running right behind our MC. The girl is still unsure, asking if he's positive about the route. One of the hunters steps in, explaining their seeker might just be a D rank. However, he promises the kid's skills are top tier in the whole country, so there's zero reason to stress. Except, right as he says that with his chest, a ghoul pops up directly in front of them. not skipping a beat. That same hunter smashes the creature's head in with a single strike. Then he turns right back to our boy, yelling again to ask if he's actually sure about this path. Fighting off the horde, one of the hunters complains that more and more ghouls keep showing up. Two squad members fire off their magic skills to hold down one of the beasts. Shielding the rescued girl with his sword, another teammate watches her look on in fear. One of the monsters lets out a roar, charging at them with glowing eyes. Dead serious, our MC confirms that path definitely leads to the exit. The only catch is, the monsters know it too, and they know exactly where they're heading. Making things way worse, these monsters seem to be controlled by a necromancer. Without warning, a system window pops up saying Sixth Sense is activated. Our boy feels eyes on him, knowing for a fact somebody nearby is pulling the strings on these ghouls. Slamming the tip of his spear hard into the ground, he takes a stand. Instantly, a massive purple magic circle forms right under the squad's feet. Freaking out, the manager asks what the heck that is. Our kid screams in panic, warning them it's magic. Following that up, he tells everyone to get out of the magic circle right now. From a distance, a hooded figure throws up a hand sign. Suddenly, the manager and another hunter get yanked back by the circle's energy. The boss yells at our boy to forget about him and run for his life, but a second later he takes a direct hit from some invisible force. Not thinking twice, our MC jumps right back toward his superior. He lands inside the magic circle, wrapped up in a heavy purple energy. A system notification pops up saying his movement speed is nerfed. Completely stuck, our boy can't move an inch while surrounded by the purple glow. Seeing this go down, one of his teammates yells to hold on, promising to pull him out. Lee Han stops him instantly, ordering him not to come anywhere close. With time running out, other team members warn they're all gonna go down, but the manager just orders them to grab the rest and bolt. Sweating bullets, Lee Han stares at the scene with a tight expression. He grits his teeth, visibly making a brutally hard choice. Turning to our MC, the manager apologizes for having to leave him behind. But our kid hits him with a curveball, telling him not to act like he's already gone, cause he has zero plans of checking out today. Out of nowhere, a massive purple aura explodes from our boy, pushing all the monsters back. Watching this unfold, the boss of the dungeon realizes the kid was just playing around with them from the start. Our MC stares dead at his enemy, calling out his name, Caracal, and no one saw that coming. The dungeon boss fully reveals himself, stepping out as a creepy creature holding a staff. Caracul admits the plan was to corner him, but he's actually surprised by our hero's escape skills, asking how he knows the temple's layout so well. Smirking, our boy hits him with a "who knows," hinting he might spill the secret if the monster lets him walk. The boss gives a sinister nod, agreeing to the deal. Right after that, Caracul dashes at top speed, yelling that he's just gonna turn him into a ghoul. Except the target wasn't our kid, it was Lee Han, who gets snatched up by the boss's hand. Dark energy instantly starts taking over the manager's body, flooding Lee Han's vision. A bunch of notifications pop up saying he's cursed and his healing is nerfed. Lee Han screams in agony while getting completely eaten up by the curse. Inside his head, he wonders if his bluff was pointless, thinking maybe he'd survive if he asked our MC for help, but ultimately decides he couldn't do it. He thinks back to the guild hunters who only care about getting a bag instead of saving lives. Surrounded by a world full of people like that, he remembers a moment from his past. It's the memory of the hero who saved him as a little kid, right in the middle of a destroyed city. Apologizing to little Lee Han, the savior felt terrible for not being able to save everyone. Lee Han found his inspiration in that crying hunter, deciding he wanted to be exactly like him. His dream was to become a department hunter, one who actually protects the weak. Because of that, even while his body mutates, he screams that he refuses to fall right there. And just like that, everything changed. The system activates his sixth sense and a synesthesia skill. Golden energy blasts out of Lee Han, who is now floating and wrapped in lightning. Expanding his consciousness, he's able to visualize the entire dungeon all at once. Then, he starts a desperate search for something hidden in the temple halls. Screaming in his own mind, he just wants to find anything he can use. Suddenly, his glowing eye shoots wide open when he finally spots it. He wonders why this one single monument is glowing compared to all the rest. The carvings on the stone glow insanely bright as the surface starts cracking open. A system window lets him know he just accessed the records of a hidden class. Shook and already looking way different, Lee Han questions what a hidden class even is. Watching from afar, Caracul takes it all in, figuring his victim is just throwing a tantrum till the end. Caracul promises to put the manager out of his misery, pushing forward with his monsters. Meanwhile, our MC is still boxed in, fending off attacks from the creatures. Out of nowhere, a system notification asks if he wants to change his class to the hidden class, Dungeon Architect. This random question completely catches our kid off guard. Barely human anymore, Lee Han is about to get slammed by a monster. Locking in with pure determination, he realizes he's got nothing left to lose. So, he screams at the top of his lungs, accepting the offer. The system confirms the class change quest is accepted. Right on cue, a blinding light erupts from Lee Han's body, blowing the monsters away. A new message drops, letting him know the tutorial is starting now. Mind blown, Lee Han gets entirely swallowed by blue energy. The whole environment around him starts breaking down into blocks of data, morphing before his eyes. One of the monster's feet turns into pure bone. Caracal, the boss, looks around clueless, wondering what the heck is going on. In a flash, the entire zone shifts into a digital space, leaving the boss fuming, demanding to know where the little punk went. We finally get a look at Lee Han's glow-up, now rocking blue hair and yellow eyes. Pulling up his profile window, it shows his name, Seo Yule, level 10, and his class change quest in progress. Seo Yule checks his stats, wondering if his old class, Anonymous Observer, is wiped and if he actually reawakened. Glancing around, he scans this wild new environment, and then it clicks for him, saying this place has to be the tutorial zone. Seo stares at a screen that materializes out of thin air right in front of him. Breaking down the class change quest, the system tasks him to drop 20 ghouls inside the maze in under 24 hours using map features, offering the new class as a reward and quest failure as the penalty. He says he gets the rest of it, but questions what exactly these map features mean. Caught off guard, a holographic map pops up right to his face. As he checks out the projection, he confirms it's the map and notices it's surprisingly easy to read. Looking closer, Seo Yule figures out the green dot in the center is actually him. The map expands, showing a massive maze with a bunch of scattered red dots. Right away, he pieces together that the red dots gotta be the ghouls he needs to hunt. With the map reflecting in his eyes, he grasps the mechanics, planning to use it to wipe out every monster in a day. He knows it might sound crazy to some, but for a crack seeker like him, this task is a walk in the park. Taking a deep breath, he locks back in and goes all right. Full of hype and a confident grin, Seo Yule yells, "Let's do this." Everything set, Seo Yule's hunt kicks off through the dungeon's dark halls. A monstrous red-eyed ghoul charges straight at him, bearing a mouthful of razor teeth. But our guy intercepts it halfway, landing a clean hit with a blue energy blade. Moments later, the system announces he leveled up, leaving only 4 ghouls and 30 minutes on the clock. Holding a fresh bone dagger, Seo Yule realizes only 4 targets are left, and he's gotta finish them fast. He thinks about how the tutorial was way smoother than expected, since he easily snagged weapons off the mobs he bodies. Flashing back, he narrates how he used his mapping skill to track down the ghouls. After that, he carefully dealt with each one, flexing the map info to his advantage. He felt certain that if things kept going this way, he cleared the quest well within the time limit. As time ticked down and the monster count dropped, the fatigue started setting in. Everything was chill until this massive weird creature started hunting him down. Checking the map, he noticed this enemy was rolling solo, unlike the other ghouls. The issue was, Seo Yule knew dropping this guy would take way too long, and he wasn't even sure he could pull it off. Because of that, he decides if he really has to fight the big boss, he needs to take out the grunts first to buy some time. Standing ready, he gears up to execute his new strategy. Right as of key, one of the smaller ghouls steps out of the fog and stops dead in his tracks. Gripping his energy dagger, Seo Yule taunts the monster, thanking him for showing up to fall alone. The beast creeps forward, dragging its razor-sharp claws across the stone floor. Flashing a smirk, our guy trash-talks the monster, saying he doesn't know about the rest, but he really didn't expect him to gang up, realizing the ghoul wasn't solo after all, and brought backup. Our MC questions since when these mobs travel in packs, regretting that his lack of time to check the map threw him into this mess. Deciding to cool off, he rethinks his game plan, keeping in mind he can only handle 2 ghouls at once. Because of this, he's got a dip, but since he's surrounded, he'll have to brute force his way right through them. He calculates that no matter how much he breaks the situation down, the bottom line is he's in checkmate. Dripping cold sweat, our kid starts feeling like this is the absolute cap for a D-rank hunter like him, but he instantly snaps out of it, finding it ridiculous and demanding that if this is a tutorial, the system better act like one. Screaming out, he begs the system for something to work with cause he didn't make it this far just to bite the dust. Just like that, the system fires off a silent wave and his sixth sense pops twice in a row. With his confidence back at max, he challenges the mobs, screaming at them to try and take him down now. This is where it gets good. A notification drops saying he unlocked the turning block by linking sixth sense with the map. Our boy looks up, utterly mind blown by what just went down. Validating the unlock, the system confirms he can now trigger the new skill right off his map. He stands there shook, staring at the massive structure rising from the floor, and the system window loops the prompt, stating the new feature is ready to go. Facing a holographic block, he questions what he's even looking at. On the map, a virtual hand pops up instructing him to spin the piece. Super confused, our guy questions the command to spin. Meanwhile, the ghouls leap straight at him for a massive group attack. But on the map, the blocks actually start moving, spinning the hallway and shifting the path to wall off the monsters. Using the new skill, a solid stone wall just crushes one of the ghouls flat against the ground. Another massive wall shoots up out of nowhere, splitting the creatures apart and leaving them screeching in rage. Gripping one of the monsters' heads, our kid realizes exactly how this new power works. With a smirk, he calls out that this new mechanic is going to make wiping them out way easier. So, he uses his virtual hand to manipulate the map one more time. A brand new wall slams shut, trapping two of the beasts inside a dead end. Caught in the trap, one of the ghouls ends up getting flattened by the fast-moving wall. Leaping toward the two enemies he managed to isolate, our kid goes in. With his hand, loaded with blue energy, he lands a devastating punch right in one's face. The hit is so heavy his fist caves the creature's face in. Taking the hit head-on, the ghoul screams in pain while getting shoved against the energy wall. Dazed, the monster stumbles backward, completely disoriented from the strike. Tapping into the system again, our boy pulls another virtual lever. The walls slam shut once more, crushing the second mob in the hallway. After watching the beast get wiped out, he says, "And now?" The last ghoul desperately tries to make a run for it, but our MC jumps right at it, calling out that there's only one left. He then delivers a brutal electric punch dead in the center of the monster's chest. The impact is so intense it creates a shockwave, completely twisting the creature. To finish things off, he grabs the final ghoul's head and unloads all his energy, fully frying the enemy. Holding the beast's head, he asks if he didn't already tell the mob he didn't come this far just to drop dead. Then, an intense yellow energy starts pouring out of the creature's eyes. The energy bursts at full force, swallowing everything in a massive flash. Right in the middle of the blast, our boy yells again, asking if the ghoul really thought he was gonna fall right there. And just like that, everything changed. The system announces the tutorial is cleared and he successfully swapped to the Dungeon Architect class. As a reward, he gets the Dungeon King and Gate skills, and the system lets him know the ghouls he dropped will be added as mobs in his own dungeon. Shortly after, the tutorial wraps up, and the system asks if he wants to return to a safe zone. The scene cuts to a rainy city, where some guy is screaming his lungs out for the manager. Arguing among themselves, a group of hunters tries to hold one guy back who demands a rescue, while the others tell him to chill. The guy with glasses steps in, explaining the gate suddenly vanished, and questioning how they even planned to find Seo Yule. Meanwhile, our MC is already back in the city, eating a popsicle and wondering what is going on. Under an umbrella, he walks up to the squad and wonders why they're also fired up again. Seeing Seo Yule, everyone freezes in shock, stuttering his name in pure disbelief. Our boy just smiles and casually suggests they grab some ice cream and clock out for the day. Shifting the scene, we see a busy street packed with pedestrians. Then, our kid's system gives him a heads up that it's generating a gate. A blue gate, buzzing with electric energy, spawns right in the air. Down by a pool, he inspects a tiny gate in his hand and figures this skill is going to be his main move outside the maze. A system window shows the gate's skill is S rank and can trap enemies, but they can break out if they defeat the boss, coming back even stronger. Looking at the dungeon's reflection in the gate, he decides he shouldn't just go around locking people up recklessly. Our boy realizes that since the gate is invisible to everyone else, trapping someone inside should be a breeze. To survive the heavy hitters he'll face later, he needs to pack his dungeon with way stronger mobs. And the only way to pull that off is by dropping enemies inside his own dungeon to use his Dungeon King skill. This means, before anything else, he's gotta level up big time himself. Suddenly, a girl snaps him out of his thoughts, asking what's on his mind and leaving our MC a bit confused. Stepping up, Yeon-hee introduces herself and offers him an apple. He says thanks and takes the fruit, while she explains her mom asked her to drop it off and bumping into him was just a coincidence. Surprised by a whole bag of apples, he asks if it's cool she's giving away so many, but the girl says they always have extra and it's just a friendly gesture from his neighbor of 5 years. Walking together, our kid asks how school is going, and Yeon-hee seems to tense up a bit at the question. She looks away and gives a pretty vague, thoughtful answer about her school life. Yeon-hee says it's always the same old thing, but our boy takes a bite of his apple and challenges her answer with a simple, "Is it?" Out of nowhere, they hear someone screaming desperately to get inside, and they quickly look toward the noise. A woman is getting held back by cops, begging them to rescue her daughter Somi, who's still in there. She keeps screaming that the kid is trapped inside some fancy boutique building. Watching the whole thing go down, our MC MC points out that doesn't look like a fire but a full-on dungeon break. It gets explained that when a dungeon is ignored for too long, the mobs inside bust through the gate and cross over into our world. So he turns to Yaon Hee, telling her he'll grab the apples later, and she gets super confused asking what the rush is. With a dead serious look, our boy replies he's got work to do as a member of the rescue squad. The scene shows the cops trying to hold back the huge crowd forming around the building. Right, Esther Zed, our kid just ducks under the police tape, and a guard runs over to stop him, yelling that he can't cross. Flashing his ID, our boy introduces himself as part of the rescue department. The guard finds it weird he's rolling solo, but our MC says the rest of the team is on the way and he's heading in first. Panicking, the guard grabs his shoulder and screams that he can't do that. Listen, he explains, the place is swarming with red goblins and going in alone is way too risky. Our kid shoots back that's exactly why he needs to hurry and asks him to move. A cop mentions hearing there's still a kid inside, and the guard confirms it, looking super worried. Since the Hunter Guild hasn't shown up yet, our boy states he has to go in himself, ignoring all the danger warnings. With his back turned, he promises he'll be fine since he's actually not alone at all. Walking into the hotel, he thinks about how this gate should have been closed by the Hunter Guild, who runs this zone. He knows people put their faith in guilds, but they usually just ignore gates that don't pay out. And as a result, dungeon breaks from low-rank gates happen all the time, leading to tragedies like the one he's looking at on the floor. Suddenly, the system drops a notification that his sixth sense skill just kicked in. Sporting a confident grin, he tells the mobs to stop hiding because he wants to test something out. A quick sound cuts through the silence, signaling something's moving. Seconds later, 3 red goblins bounce off the walls to ambush him all at once. Completely unbothered, he says he's got some goblins for them too. Right on cue, the system starts generating an electric gate right in front of him, catching the creatures off guard. The energy vortex expands and sucks all 3 goblins inside with brutal force. Swallowed whole by the gate, the beasts are disoriented and have zero clue what's happening. One of the goblins gets violently dragged into the dimension, fading away in the flash of blue energy. With the moms trapped, our MC leaps straight toward the gate floating in the middle of the lobby. He thinks about how his old self would be screwed in this spot, watching the 3 goblins now locked in his personal dungeon. But things are different now, since these goblins just ran face first into one of the giant mobs living in his dimension. Flashing a confident smile, he crowns himself the master of that dungeon, claiming this is where things really kick off for him. Inside the dungeon, the narration drops that red goblins are 1-star mobs, as one of them rushes the ghoul. They're the kind of species that rallies around their leader, and honestly, they aren't much different from your average goblin, except for one big detail, which becomes painfully obvious when the ghoul lunges in for an attack. The red goblin leader shoots a wicked smirk, showing off how smart he actually is. Instead of fighting, the goblins just vault right over the ghoul, completely breaking expectations. Watching the whole thing through the gate, our kid says he can't let that slide. The scene shifts to the dungeon mob getting overpowered and swarmed by the red goblins. With zero hesitation, the goblin leader stomps hard right on the purple monster's head. Following up, he slams the creature into the ground with a massive strike. Our MC wonders if the goblins were plotting something and if they're already used to running dungeons. Walking down the hotel hallway, he thinks having ghouls hunt for him is cool, but he really needs to keep an eye on these goblins. He stares at his map, figuring they can keep playing their little tricks, because inside his dungeon, the goblins are the ones being hunted. Moments later, he hits the 17th floor of the building. The door to one of the rooms is cracked open, so he steps in carefully. Inside, he finds a terrified little girl and asks if her name is Somi. Flashing a smile, he calms her down, telling her not to worry anymore since he's got it all handled. Side by side, the 2 of them start walking out of the room. The little girl asks if he really got rid of all the goblins, and he confirms it, even though he knows the ghouls technically did the dirty work. Walking away, he realizes sending the goblins to the dungeon was actually a big brain play. He figures the goblins were using their sense of smell to hunt down hiding humans as they climbed the floors. If he hadn't shown up fast, Somi would have been caught by them in no time. Out of nowhere, a system notification pops up right in his face. The warning lets him know that roughly 50% of his dungeon's defending mobs just got wiped out. Right then, the elevator doors slide open in the hallway. Our boy tells Somi the elevator is working and she can head down, but the kid asks if he isn't coming with her. Saying goodbye with a smile, he tells her he still needs to go catch the rest of the bad guys. Now flying solo in the hall, our MC gears up, saying he already knew exactly which one was causing all the trouble. Cutting to the Red Goblin King bodying the ghouls, our kid realizes that at this rate his entire mob squad is gonna get farmed. He thinks about throwing the goblin at the maze boss, but scraps the idea knowing it'd be a disaster if the boss actually lost. With a need to check on the situation, situation anyway, he decides the best move is to head in there himself. So, our MC jumps straight into the electric gate he set up. Upon arriving in his dungeon, he gets completely shook by what he sees. Looking at the ghoul bodies scattered all over the floor, he admits that seeing it up close, the goblins really wrecked the place. He turns to the Goblin King and orders him to stop messing with his ghouls. Tapping into his skill, he drops a holographic wall right in the middle of the room. The energy barrier blocks the path of the Goblin King, whose weapon was already blazing with fire. With his hand glowing blue, our boy calls the monster out and tells him to bring it on. Pissed off, the Red Goblin King screams, "Human," as his body surges with energy. A second later, the beast charges full speed, screaming he's gonna end him, while our kid readies his spear for a fight. Locking in, our boy braces himself for the incoming strike. The Goblin King spins his flaming weapon, throwing a massive swing right at him. But our MC dodges with crazy agility, avoiding the hit by a hair. His movement is so fast, the fire blade scrapes right past his back. While moving, he realizes his body feels super light compared to how tired he actually is, his eyes glowing with energy. The system pulls up his level 24 dungeon architect profile, and he genuinely feels built different than before. Growling in rage, the Goblin King watches as our guy remembers his original plan was just to test things out with the ghouls. Except now, flashing a confident smirk, he figures he can just handle this himself. And that's where it gets crazy. The two of them charge and their attacks clash in a massive explosion of energy and fire. Spooked out of his mind, the Goblin King watches our kid's hand glow before blasting a beam of blue energy. The hit is so cracked it blasts the creature's stone hands into pieces, giving him zero time to react. Our boy lands a second hit, a red energy sphere that nails the mob head on. The impact throws the Goblin King backward, sending him sliding down the hall. Our MC sticks a perfect landing after pulling off his attack combo. "Thanks for pushing me," he tells the monster, but his expression suddenly drops. Seeing the Goblin King hurt and panting, our boy asks if he can even still swing that sword. He says that since he's in the perfect spot right now, he should probably test that out. So he taunts the beast, asking what he's doing and where all that hype from earlier went. Pointing right at the enemy, our MC reveals he invested 2 million won into him, and it'd be a real problem if he's already out of gas. Mad, the Goblin King gets back up, and our boy dares him to show off some moves worthy of a king. Catching the Goblin King's hesitation, our kid asks if he's doing alright. With his body engulfed in flames, the creature furiously asks if he's scared. Right after that, the monster lets out a massive energy wave. He rushes in screaming he's gonna end him, but our MC just thinks he better show his worth for that investment now. Standing tall, our kid comments he really wanted to see that used on the goblin. The red beast keeps charging full speed straight at him. All of a sudden, a chain trap on the floor triggers. Our boy thinks a repulsion trap is an absolute must-have in any dungeon. Caught entirely off guard, the Goblin King gets locked down by an invisible force, stuck in his tracks. Wearing a satisfied smirk, our MC just waves and says goodbye. A second later, a system notification pops up saying the spiked ceiling trap is engaged. Heavy chains wrap around the Goblin King's feet and hoist him into the air as his flaming weapon hits the floor. The gears in the ceiling start turning, prepping for the strike. And then, massive stone spikes slam down, leaving our boy watching the aftermath with his hands on his hips. Checking the system screen, he figures that even though it costs 20 gold, traps are a huge W investment. Plus, the performance is so reliable, he actually feels a little bad for anyone who gets caught in them. Following that, a notification pops up letting him know he leveled up. Another alert states the Red Goblin pack was wiped out and added to his dungeon thanks to his skill. Now chilling in a hallway, our MC stretches out, complaining about being exhausted. Out of nowhere, someone yells his name, "Hey, Sayol," and he turns around to see who it is. The rescue leader walks up asking where the manager is, complaining he's been looking forever and wondering what the kid was doing alone. Grabbing him by the shoulders, the guy asks if he really handled the goblin solo and points out his injuries, but our kid plays dumb, saying he doesn't remember anything after hitting his head. The coworker insists everyone knows the goblins vanished right after he went in and demands the truth, so our boy jokes he might remember if he buys him steak, ticking the guy off. Just then, a gray-haired dude walks up, apologizing for interrupting and asking if they're from the rescue department. Introducing himself as Manager Kwan Song from the Hanul Guild, he asks if they can talk for a bit. The rescue leader, standing right next to our boy, agrees to the chat. Kwan starts by sincerely thanking them for cooperating to fix the dungeon break, leaving our kids super confused by the word cooperation. Getting straight to the point, he puts a hand on the other guy's shoulder. Kwan asks them to hold off on doing any interviews about the incident, and our MC reacts with total surprise, going, "Excuse me." The manager explains his guild wants to keep this quiet, and even though they'll pay off the hotel, bad news would just make people panic. He then offers a fat donation to the department, asking for their their understanding as fellow hunters. Realizing this is exactly how they hush people up, our boy admits to himself the guy isn't entirely wrong. The narration explains that unlike the hunter department, which is mostly D ranks, guilds have a huge roster that goes all the way up to S rank. Because of that, people naturally trust the guilds more since they hold the power, believing they're the ones who will save the day. Clenching his fist, our MC thinks the way these guilds milk that trust pisses him off, but he knows he can't change the game solo. The rescue leader rushes to agree, claiming that as a fellow hunter, he gets it. Our kid figures he wasn't planning on blowing the whistle anyway, since the association would cover it up and it'd just bring unwanted heat on him. But with a slight smirk, he says it'd be pretty unfair of him to just let things slide like this. Stopping Manager Quan, he tells him to wait a sec, thinking he might have to keep cleaning up the messes these guilds leave behind. So he grabs Quan's arm and promises he's gonna shoot straight with him. Our MC then demands a 10 billion won donation, saying he expects at least that much since the department needs a ton of gear. Manager Quan gets completely floored by the price tag, and our boy hits him with a dead serious look, asking if he can pull that off. A little while later, our kid is out jogging through a park. He takes a sip from his drink. Then, he narrates that after carrying the hotel dungeon break, he got 2 days off. He figures since he handled the whole thing solo and even bagged some cash from the guild, the reward was well earned. The catch, he realizes, is that his co-workers are looking at him sideways, but for now, he decides to keep his mouth shut, knowing that if news of his hidden class reawakening gets out, things could get super annoying real fast. So for now, our MC decides to just grind on managing his dungeon and pops open the gate. He decides his first move is spending gold to fix the walls and respawn the mobs. Explaining the details, the narration points out that gold is the universal currency for hunters, and it's easy to track since it doesn't change between dungeons. The only issue is the cost is crazy high, hitting 53 gold, which is basically double his monthly paycheck. Even so, since he already stacked up 80 gold so far, our boy decides to drop the cash and confirms the purchase. Getting ready for the next chore, he says. Alright, next up is. But out of nowhere, his phone starts ringing, and he wonders why she's calling him on his day off. Picking up, he tells her to get straight to the point, but the caller claps back, guessing he's probably just goofing off in a park anyway. The girl on the line says it's a good thing he's off the clock, meaning he's got plenty of time to use his tracking skills. So, the woman, known as Lee Jung-hai from the monitoring department, tells him to track someone down right this second. She waits for an answer on the other end of the call. To her surprise, the call just drops, leaving her wondering if he really hung up on her. Back at the park, he gets a brain blast, realizing he might not even need to respawn every single mob in the dungeon. He figures he can cut costs, and if push comes to shove, it'll be way faster if he just steps in himself. Our kid tenses up just thinking about respawning the mobs, groaning at the price tag with an "oh damn." So he screams into his phone telling Jong-ha to track the guy herself, but she begs, offering to buy him food and calling herself a pretty, delicate lady. Skeptical of her whole description, he repeats to himself, pretty and delicate. She insists he's gonna want to go in person the second he hears the name, so our MC gets curious, asking who the heck this person is. Jong-ye then drops the bomb that the target is Kang Tae-san, leaving our kid completely shook by the intel. Still on the line, he admits to himself that honestly he'd love to meet this legend at least once in his life. With his eyes glowing, our NC decides that if the target is someone on Tae-san's level, he'll track him down super fast. The scene then shifts to a gazebo right in the middle of a quiet park. There, an old man playing a board game complains that his opponent just made a trash move. Getting ticked off, the old guy calls the other one grumpy and suggests swapping to a different game, which makes the third player tap out entirely. Watching everything from a distance, our kid realizes he could feel the energy way back. But getting up close, he sees this is dead serious. He catches the dark red aura that only the most cracked awakened give off, making the target stand out even from far away. But tossing the aura aside for a sec, our boy wonders if that guy is actually who he's looking for. Spotting him standing there, Kang Tae-san thinks he looks different than expected, so he invites him over, asking if he knows how to play Jonggi. Our MC answers that he knows a little, and then the old man who was losing begs him for help to beat his opponent. Stepping up to drop some advice, he points at the board, telling the guy he should move the horse first. Suddenly, a system notification pops up, warning him that his sixth sense skill just activated. In a flash, his eyes light up as he spots an incoming threat from his side. Running on pure instinct, he dodges an object flying at insane speed right past him. Seconds later, a silenced pistol slams right into a tree, leaving the old guys completely spooked. Turns out the flying object was actually a JNG piece straight from the board game they were playing. Just then, a pink-haired guy walks up to our boy, saying he can overlook the fact that he approached with a hidden agenda. Our MC realizes his whole worry was pointless and confirms to himself it really is him. The narration explains this guy is one of the only S-rank hunters in Korea, and he's famous for his OP ability to turn literally any object into a deadly weapon. The man, now revealed as Kang Tae-san, the weapon master, goes on to say that while he can ignore the kid's intentions, he won't forgive his useless tips on the game. Without warning, the pink-haired guy, who is just a subordinate, screams, "Master!" He looks into the distance and spots Lee Jung-ya sprinting right toward them. Tae-san turns to our boy asking if he's from the monitoring department, but our kid denies it, explaining he's just a seeker from the rescue department, even flashing Jung-hai's call on his phone. The master comments that he's got some pretty cocky moves for a simple guide, and our kid shoots back that his only flaw is being too talented, staring him down. Tae-san thinks the kid would go far if it wasn't for his sharp tongue. Right after that, Jung-hai shows up asking what he's doing here since she's been looking everywhere, but the old man just greets her casually, saying it's been a minute. She warns him the trainees are already gathered and they need to head back right now, so the master agrees with an all right. Then the woman turns to our MC, questioning how he found someone her own department couldn't, suspecting he was hiding him on purpose. Flashing a smile, our kid answers it's just cause he's highly skilled, and since the job is done, he's taking off, but he reminds her not to forget the food she promised. Right as he turns to leave, Tae-san calls him an arrogant brat and tells him to stop. He stares our MC down, saying that since he's also a department hunter, he needs to tag along. The weapon master declares he wants to test that cocky mouth of our kid for himself. The scene cuts to a massive building while the narration explains that even Awaken have a level cap, hinting that a power test is about to go down. The narration continues, explaining that this means no matter how hard a C-rank grinds, they'll never break out of that tier. But the system doesn't dictate everything, since martial arts can't be measured just by raw numbers. In other words, Kang Tae-san breaks down that it's possible to level up based solely on weapon proficiency. Swinging his energy sword, he announces that's exactly why everyone is here. Finishing his sentence, he says that's the whole reason the department hunters were called in today. Except our kid is just bored out of his mind in the crowd, thinking he only wants to head back and explore his dungeon. Suddenly, Tae-san points to one of the trainees, asking how long he's been in his program, and the kid, An Shi-woo, replies it's been 4 months. Other hunters whisper that Sai-woo is one of the few B-rank Wookiees in the department, while a girl standing nearby just watches. The master then hypes the kid up, saying he's got real potential, which is why he's there, leaving Si-woo stoked and super grateful. Shortly after, the old man announces he's gonna ask him a question. Tai-Tine asks what he thinks is actually needed to properly wield a sword. Rocking a fiery aura, Si-woo answers he believes it takes immense strength and a total understanding of your own skills. The master goes quiet for a second, just staring the kid down with a dead serious look. Then he turns to our boy, calling him an arrogant brat again and asking for his take. Without overthinking it, our MC answers he thinks it's just the will to wield the weapon. The other trainees start whispering, finding our kid's answer super weird and questioning if he's even a trainee, since Saiwoo's answer sounded way better. Tae-san challenges our kid, asking if he's actually confident in that answer, since he threw it out there so casually. Our boy confirms he's totally sure, thinking to himself that this S rank is pretty sharp. The master steps up to him, saying that for such a careless attitude, he really is arrogant, but then he takes a pause. And that's where it gets crazy. He points right at our kid and announces in front of everyone that his answer is the right one. Looking a bit confused, our boy just answers, "Thanks." Hearing this, An Shi-woo, the other trainee, grinds his teeth in pure rage at the master's call. He instantly blows up, screaming and questioning how an answer like that could possibly be right, declaring he refuses to accept it. Watching the whole thing, our MC wonders why the guy is throwing a fit over a simple question, since he's not a little kid. Tae-san steps in, saying anyone with the right qualifications can be here, and since this switched up his plans, he's throwing a test for both of them. The master states they just gotta prove their answers in this test and asks if they're in. Si-woo instantly screams that he accepts, but our kid turns it down with a quick, "No thanks." The old man warns he's gonna have to pick the big guy's plan and asks if our kid is positive about his choice. Then he drops the reward, explaining that clearing the test means becoming his personal disciple. Shook by the news, our MC thinks about the insane opportunity to be an S-rank's apprentice, and how much of a power spike that would be. He realizes this is his ticket to level up to a way higher tier. Tae-san stares him down, asking if he's feeling a bit more motivated now, calling him a rookie. Turning his back for a second, our boy seems to chew on the offer, and then he clenches his fists, totally locked in. Spinning back around with a confident smirk, he claims that motivation is more than enough now. Standing inside a massive training room, Tai-sen breaks down that the test is pretty simple. He orders the two of them to use the skill he's going to pass down and smash as much of the ethereal stone as they can. Whoever wrecks more of it gets to be his disciple. Our kid thinks about the challenge, repeating ethereal stone to himself. He remembers it's a magic-infused rock only found in the temple, and he's heard only cracked awakened can even dent it. But he wonders what the master meant by pass down the skill, while Siwoo gets super hyped in the background. Other hunters in the crowd get buzzing about the chance, and our MC just thinks that whatever it is, he doesn't care. Locking his eyes on the prize, he clenches his fist and declares to himself that this opportunity is already his. Tae-san then announces that, starting now, he's handing down his skill. He also throws out a warning that if they don't feel anything, they'll get disqualified instantly, and both hit him with a loud yes. With a serious glare, the master calls out that they're starting. Out of nowhere, a massive red aura erupts from him, totally swallowing both trainees. A system notification pops up for our MC, letting him know he detected the sword aura. Siwoo struggles to breathe under the heavy pressure, wondering if he has to tank all this just to get the skill. He feels like he's gonna pass out any second, but at the same time, he manages to catch a glimpse of something. Our kid, on the flip side, gets a vision of a glowing spear floating over water in a calm nighttime setting. The bluish spear shines super bright right in his mind. Moments later, the system drops a notification that he acquired the Serene Mind skill and mastered the Dragon King spear. Still flexing his aura, Tae-san watches how the two handle it and comments that, judging by their faces, he concludes they definitely have what it takes and should be proud of it. While our MC and Siwoo tank the pressure, Tae-san explains it's actually impressive, since normally people don't feel anything or just black out right after feeling his aura. While one of the trainees in the back screams for a medic. Staring intensely, the master gears up to call the next move, and he asks who's stepping up to prove themselves on the ethereal stone first. Instantly, Siwoo steps up, gripping his weapon tight. Cloaked in a red, lightning-filled aura, he rushes full speed straight at the giant crystal. Siwoo thinks he's going to totally crush any motivation our kid has to challenge him. One of the hunters in the crowd talks trash, questioning what that whole willpower speech was about and claiming our MC has been sus since he walked in with the old man. He keeps going, saying he has zero clue how a D rank managed to tank the skill inheritance, but at the end of the day, he's just some guy who bought his way in. Totally locked in, Siwoo declares he just needs to prove himself with his own strength. Then, he unleashes a heavy strike that cracks and blasts the surface of the stone. A blonde hunter is blown away that the ethereal stone broke so easily and questions why someone like Siwoo is even in the hunter department. Watching the whole thing, the master thinks about how our kid mastered the Dragon King's spear and comments that the hit wasn't half bad. Right after that, our boy grabs his weapon, getting ready for his turn, but Siwoo cuts right in front of him, asking where he thinks he's going, trying to steal a veteran's spot with zero strategy. Our MC flashes a little smirk, asking how Siwoo can live constantly walking on eggshells, and calls him by his name. Tae-san cuts off the beef, telling them to save the fighting for later and calling our kid the rookie up for his turn. Walking up to the stone, our boy thinks he only clapped back because the guy was being annoying, but admits Siwoo is cracked when it comes to raw power. He keeps his train of thought going, realizing the test right now isn't about raw strength anyway, it's about proving his own answer. Our MC remembers that on top of that, the master literally said his answer, the will to wield a weapon, was the right one. Finally, he admits to himself that he threw the answer out casually, but he only did it because that's genuinely his truth. Our kid then takes a second to think about why he even carries his weapon. He flashes back to a past battle going all out against a monster. The answer hits him crystal clear. He fights so he can be just like the person who saved him, and also because he wants a ton of other people to feel that same hope he did. He realizes that's the whole reason he became a hunter in the first place, and to reach that goal, he needs one specific thing. With fire in his eyes, he concludes he needs to level up and get way stronger than he is now. So, our kid pops his skill, the heart-piercing dragon fire, and swings with everything he's got. The power of the strike is so insane that everyone in the crowd steps back, completely shook and terrified. Tae-san watches the hit with a dead serious glare, analyzing the technique. Siwoo is left utterly speechless, cursing and wondering what kind of absurd power that even is. After the blast totally obliterates the stone, our MC walks right past Siwoo and drops a quick apology. With his weapon resting on his shoulder, he talks a little trash, asking if it looks like the rookie is about to steal his spot. Tae-sen walks up saying weapons and skills are just tools and to unlock their true potential, you gotta know yourself first. Then, the master declares that, starting today, the rookie is officially his disciple. Wearing a confident smile, our kid just says thanks. The crowd of hunters goes wild, totally unable to process what they just watched. The scene cuts to an alley, where some bully tells a girl he warned her to bounce when he said so. He yanks Yeonhee's hair hard, blaming her for not listening to him. A blonde girl steps up, saying that as a classmate it breaks her heart seeing Yeonhee like this just for being a little nosy. She then glares at her, asking if she really wanted to help her friend that badly. One of the thugs splashes a drink right in some guy's face, and tells the girl defending her that she needs to know who she's messing with, asking what she's gonna do now that she crossed Jin-tae. Jin-tae, the leader of the bullies, flashes a dark, intimidating smirk. The girl who tried to help glares right back with a look of pure rage and determination. Another guy walks up to her calling it a shame and asking if she's all alone now, with no friends to back her up. Then he drops the news that her friend jumped off a building on her own and is now locked in a hospital room. The girl stares him down, furious, grinding her teeth in anger. The bully stares right back and warns her that if she keeps looking at him like that, he says it just makes him want to beat her up more, and then throws a heavy punch. Out of nowhere, one of the bullies bows and says, "Young master," announcing he showed up pretty early. A guy with white hair and a black coat steps in, and the thug introduces him as the beloved B-rank hunter. The newcomer says they're heading out and tells the other guy to make sure the girl on the floor doesn't run away. Then he turns to the kid who got splashed earlier and tells him to come along, but the kid asks where they're even going. The group leader sarcastically asks why he thinks he got called, explaining they're obviously heading to an empty spot. He wraps it up saying they'll get to play around there until they're bored, while a purple energy dome forms over the city. The scene jumps back to the present, with the blonde hunter commenting that it must be awesome for our kid to become a disciple and an S-rank hunter, even getting to pick whatever weapon he wants. But she questions if that spear is really enough, and our boy replies that yeah, it's all he needs. He finishes up saying it's because there's literally nothing better out there, while the golden spear glows in his hand. The system screen pulls up the weapon stats, the Loga, Spear of Evolution, sitting at normal rank. The description explains the requirement to use it as being qualified by Loga's will, and its unique perk is that it can evolve into a form matching the user's will. Right after our kid stretches and complains about the day being full of weird events, saying it's way past time to clock out, and questioning if the monitoring department's only job is just watching stuff. The blonde hunter tries to stop our boy from walking in somewhere, screaming that he can't, while he stands there clueless about why. Nearby, an older lady argues with a guard, insisting she needs to see Chief Seo Yul, but he blocks her, stating civilians aren't allowed inside. The security guard suggests she call if it's an emergency, but the woman snaps back, super stressed, saying she came all the way here exactly because he isn't picking up. Hearing the commotion, RMC walks over, calling out to the lady. She recognizes him and screams his name, Seo Yul, and looking worried, he asks if something's wrong. Panicking, the woman grabs his shirt and stutters that Yeonhee was, and she finishes her sentence, screaming that Yeonhee got dragged into the yellow zone. With a dark look and a clenched jaw, our boy pulls out his phone. Then, with his face glowing in a red aura of pure rage, he asks who did this. Out in a dark forest, one of the bullies asks if they're sure coming out here was a smart move. Jin-tae explains that's exactly why he brought a B-rank hunter along, and on top of that, they need to test something out. Grabbing the captured girl, he says they need to see if she can actually win a fight against a monster, throwing her into full panic mode. Jin-tae then tries to chill her out, telling her not to sweat it since the mobs are weak, and if she fights with the same energy as when she hit him, she'll catch a totally easy W. Grinding her teeth, the girl's face is a mix of pure fear and rage. Next, the group shoves her forward, forcing her right toward the danger. Rocking a cold stare, the white-haired hunter simply orders them to grab her. Running for her life, the girl thinks she has to find a way to escape, knowing Jin-tae well enough to realize he's actually gonna make her fight. But in the rush, she trips and slams hard right into the ground. Catching up, the B-rank hunter lands a brutal kick, making her scream in pain. Down on the ground, she begs for help, but the guy asks why she's screaming so loud when it's only their group out there. Suddenly, comes flying at insane speed right at them. Sensing the threat, the white-haired hunter yells for the group to get behind him, questioning if it's a monster since Jin-tae claimed they were weak. And just like that, everything changed. A massive attack blasts all of them, blowing the bullies completely away. One of the thugs hits the ground badly hurt, while Jin-tae watches the scene totally shook. The B-rank hunter screams for the young master to fall back right now, and Jin-tae curses, having no clue what just happened. The white-haired guy locks in with a serious glare, zeroing in on the new threat that just pulled up. He then IDs the mobs as stinghawks, as a swarm of creatures looking like giant wasps swarms in. The scene shifts to our boy in full combat gear, thanking someone on the phone for coming through with his request. Already deep in the forest with a defeated mob at his feet, he mentions he heard who tipped off his boss about Yeonhee's location. On the call, the person says they were just filing a personal mission report and, confused about why he insists on going solo, throws out some advice. It's Kang Jong-min from the combat department, wrapping up the call by telling him to stay sharp. Already suited up in his tactical gear, our MC tells him not to sweat it. Staring into the creepy forest ahead, he thinks that, honestly, this place looks like a terrible spot to live. He remembers the Yellow Zone is an isolated area that went completely out of control after a dungeon break. The mobs out here aren't too cracked, but one of them, a stinghawk, locks eyes with him, glowing red. Our kid thinks about how he heard these things are smart, making them a real pain to deal with. Even though he's already fought a bunch, he notices there's still a ton of them left, but they definitely feel weaker than the red goblins. Still, he knows if you aren't awakened, surviving out here is basically impossible, which is why he needs to save Yeonhee ASAP. A monster packing a razor-sharp stinger dives straight at him for an attack. Dodging with crazy speed, our boy leaps to the side, totally avoiding the hit. A second later, he's staring down an entire swarm of the creatures charging right at him. The system then flashes a notification, letting him know it's opening up a gate. He figures the mobs have just been rushing him non-stop since he walked in, so he doesn't have much time to waste. Charging up an energy orb, he challenges them, telling them to call every single friend they can find to fight him. Out of nowhere, a massive monster, way bigger than the rest, steps out of the gate. The giant beast stops dead in front of our MC, staring him down from above. Taking a second in silence, our boy flashes a smirk and points out the beast brought a ton of friends, huh? That giant creature in the entire swarm charged right at him. Not sweating it at all, our MC sprints straight toward them, fully prepped for battle. Right in the middle of the monster horde, he unleashes a wave of blue energy, taking down a bunch of creatures in one hit. Even so, he starts wondering if this situation is getting a little too dangerous. Checking the system screen, he notices the dungeon mob count is dropping fast, leaving only ghouls, red goblins, and stinghawks. The catch is, he knows if he sends any more of his units in there, the whole dungeon will just collapse. Dodging incoming strikes, he realizes there are still way too many enemies to handle solo. Figuring he has no other choice, he decides there's only one thing left to do. Bringing his hands together, he charges up a blue energy sphere, mentioning this is his absolute last resort. With a confident grin, he stares down the mobs and asks if they like playing in the water. Right after that, he blasts a massive wave of elemental energy at the swarm. Throwing a heavy kick, he announces he's wrapping things up with a water charge. The skill unleashes a massive water vortex that sucks in everything around it. Building up immense force, the whirlpool creates a huge aquatic explosion right there. Every single creature, goblins and stinghawks included, gets caught off guard by the devastating hit. One of the insectoid monsters looks completely lost, having zero clue what's going down. Within seconds, they are all dragged away and swallowed whole by the raging current. Spinning violently, the water crushes everything pulled into the whirlpool. The next scene just shows the remains of the monsters floating in the water. Holding an energy orb, our MC complains that repairing the dungeon again is gonna be a pain, which is exactly why he didn't want to use this method. But a second later, he gives a little smirk, accepting the outcome. Looking out over the quiet, flooded landscape, he figures at least things are peaceful now. Somewhere else in the forest, Jin-tae's group is running for their lives. Pissed off, one of them yells, asking how long these creatures are going to keep chasing them. Jin-tae turns to the hunter and complains that a B rank can't even handle simple bugs and questions why they keep running. But the white-haired guy explains there are way too many to fight solo. Furious, the bully tells him to shut up, saying he's already mad they got lost and calling the B rank hunter completely useless. Out of nowhere, one of the creatures flies at top speed right toward the other members. Stopping in his tracks, one of the goons looks back, super confused by what just happened. Seconds later, he and the woman behind him get nailed by a surprise attack. One of the stinghawks lands right in front of him, glaring at the group with its red eyes. Spotting more monsters ahead, Jin-tae warns the hunter, and the B rank readies his glowing weapon. Right behind them, the other two thugs are fully cornered with nowhere to run. Grabbing Yeon-hee by the hair, the guy screams in panic, ordering the hunter to do something. Just then, one of the beasts dive bombs straight at them, ready to strike. But at the very last second, the creature's attack gets blocked by some unknown force. Shocked, Jin-tae and Yeon-hee look on, and the bully asks, "Who the heck did that?" A voice answers that it's a department hunter as a glowing weapon cuts through the smoke. Then, our MC steps up, staring dead at Jin-tae and asking if he's the one who dragged Yeon-hee out here. Looking completely stunned, Yeon-hee screams our kid's name, So Yul. Hugging her tight, he asks if she's okay, mentioning it's his first time ever seeing her cry. Suddenly, Jin-tae cuts him off, calling him Department Hunter. Pointing right at him, the scumbag demands to be taken to the exit, promising to pay whatever it takes. Yeon-hee begs our MC to just ignore the guy and leave immediately. Apologizing to her, our boy leaves her, wondering why he said that. Next, he gently pushes her back, keeping her safe behind him. He promises to wrap this up fast so he can take her home, while Jin-tae asks what the heck he's doing. Slamming his spear into the ground, our kid fires back, asking what he thinks is happening. With a smirk, he explains he's about to do something Yeon-hee would hate to see. Getting mad, Jin-tae says they're all the same trash and asks if he even knows who he is. Our boy then IDs him as Park Jin-tae, the Supreme Court judge's kid, adding that his rap sheet is impossible to miss. Continuing on, he lists off the bully's crimes, like school violence, theft, and drunk driving. Calling him out, our MC states Jin-tae committed a bunch of crimes and just bought his way out, so the punk challenges him, asking what he's gonna do about it. Without missing a beat, our boy throws a heavy punch straight into the bully's face. The impact is so cracked that the scumbag is left completely dazed. Grabbing Jin-tae by the collar, our kid comments it must be nice using money to slide out of everything. Then, flashing a challenging look, he asks why the punk doesn't try buying him off too. Gearing up, he readies another strike for the bully who's already on the ground. But at the very last second, the white-haired hunter steps in and blocks our kid's attack. Sporting a serious look, our boy mentions he guesses pest control is finally over. The white-haired hunter glares back, rocking a determined expression and a scar across his face. Freaking out, Jin-tae calls him crazy and screams it's too late to beg for mercy, telling him to go straight to the grave with Yeon-hee. Following orders, the B-rank hunter dashes forward and spins into a heavy kick. Coming down from above, the strike gets blocked cleanly by the shaft of our MC's spear. Holding the weapon steady, he manages to tank the sheer force of the enemy's attack. The clash between them sparks a small energy explosion right at the impact point. Our kid then warns he was gonna let it slide with a warning, but the guy just had to cross the line. With his eyes glowing red, he reminds them they were the ones who tried dropping him first. And right after that, he shoves the hunter back with a powerful counterattack from his red spear. Surprised, the white-haired guy thinks a department hunter should only be a D rank and wonders why he's getting pushed back, since he'd definitely recognize a B rank. Watching our boy hold the energized spear, the hunter questions if he's actually from the department, but deciding it doesn't matter, he figures since the opponent is wielding a spear, the strategy is obvious. Charging at our MC again, he starts trading blows at crazy high speeds. The B rank thinks he just needs to close the gap so he can land a close-range hit. Except our boy reads the approach perfectly and grabs his hand with an iron grip. He then warns that if the guy rushes in like that, he leaves him no choice but to punch him. No hesitation, he lands a devastating hook right into the hunter's face. The impact hits so hard, the white-haired dude gets sent flying backward. Seeing his bodyguard floored, Jin-tae screams for him to get up and angrily asks if he bought his license with his dad's money. Completely surprised, our kid thinks, wait, this guy is a B rank. Flashing back, he remembers hunting down all those wasps and the stats he bagged from it. Flashing a slight smile, he wonders if he's finally surpassed the strength of a B-rank hunter. Meanwhile, Jin-tae grabs a rock off the ground, furious about getting clowned by a mere department hunter. Sprinting in to attack, he screams, asking what he's laughing at, but our boy doesn't even flinch. With a quick flick of his spear, our MC easily sweeps Jin-tae off his feet. The punk face plants hard into the dirt, letting out a groan of pain. Our kid then asks how it feels, since he's never been bodied like this before, reminding him that the people he tormented suffered way worse. Screaming back, Jin-tae says if he has a problem with it, he should get power or money, claiming that's just how the world works and it's not his fault. Our kid agrees, but states the world would be a much better place without a hopeless piece of trash like him. The bully asks what he's gonna do, and our MC replies he's not worried, feeling pretty confident he can make a scumbag like him suffer enough. Holding Yeon-hee, who's passed out, in his arms, he goes, so, staring down at Jin-tae on the ground, surrounded by glowing eyes in the dark, he decides to leave him with the ones who are actually starving. Spooked by a noise coming from the forest, Jin-tae scrambles to his feet. Suddenly, 3 monstrous wolves with glowing purple eyes step out, growling right at him. Terrified, the scumbag screams for them to stay back and get away from him. Cursing in pure panic, he watches the creatures close the distance. The wolves then jump Shintae all at once, while our boy watches the scene from a distance with Yeon-hee in his arms. Shifting scenes, the kidnapping in the Yellow Zone finally comes to an end. Finally, Yeon-hee makes it safely back to her family's arms, crying tears of relief. Kang Jong-min explains the higher-ups already tracked down the guards who let Park Jin-tae in, firing the corrupt staff and warning that things are going to be super chaotic for a while. While those officials got disciplined, news of the incident spread like wildfire, with headlines blowing up that one of the kidnappers was a Supreme Court judge's kid. In the end, the whole mess got handled with Judge Park Eun-jin stepping down. And then, a little while later, the scene cuts to an office building. There, RMC is staring at a system screen glowing bright blue, displaying an elimination quest. The objective is to hunt down the Queen Wasp within 30 days, offering gold, royal jelly, and a dagger as rewards, but packing a 50% debuff against insect-type monsters if he fails. He remembers the massive creature he spotted while leaving the flooded dungeon. Flashing the image of the towering Queen Wasp in his mind, he confirms without a doubt that was her. Knowing how fiercely the creature guards its nest, he realizes she won't be an easy target. But, locking in with a determined look, our boy claims he's gonna pull it off. Reflecting on it, he figures if the worker wasps already had the power to cause a dungeon break, the queen has to be on a whole other level. Back in the office, our MC tells a coworker he's got stuff to handle today, so he's clocking out early. The guy mentions it's great seeing him so active but asks if he finished all the paperwork before dipping. Our kid just shoots him a dead serious look before walking out. Staying totally silent, the coworker just stares at the door he left through. Now outside, our kid thinks he's got a month before the Queen Wasp quest expires, and the swarm is definitely gonna expand their turf by then. Because of that, he knows he needs to make absolutely sure he's fully prepped. Pulling up to a training spot with traditional architecture, a guy greets him by saying he's late. Flashing a smile, the master invites him in, warning that they're kicking off his training right now. Showing our boy around, the master introduces the spot, saying this is the place. A guy named Gunsu grabs the master by the arms and announces he's ready, scoring some praise for the good work. Our MC stares at this Junsu guy, who glares right back with a dead serious look. Remaining completely quiet, the guy leaves the other trainees looking super confused. Suddenly, he reveals a bizarre object, explaining it's the jaw of an iron demon, a unique variant. Flexing his scarred back, the master mentions that was the first thing that ever almost dropped him. Then he grabs some kind of training gear with two handles, stating this is gonna be our kid's very first task. Letting out a roar, the master shows off insane strength, unleashing a heavy red aura. Throwing all his might into it, he tries to pry open the stupidly tough object. Struggling hard, he complains the thing is still as stubborn as ever. After flexing with everything he's got, he finally manages to crack the gear open just a bit. Blown away, the other disciples comment that the master is incredible and his muscles are just built different. Challenging our MC to give it a shot, the master waits as he accepts. Grabbing the gear, our kid thinks that since he's past B-rank level now, he should at least be able to budge it, even if he can't fully open it. Gritting his teeth, he applies a massive amount of force, focusing all his energy into the pull. Watching closely, the master looks pretty surprised and comments that this was definitely unexpected. Straining hard, our MC realizes the gear hasn't moved a single inch. Breaking it down, the master explains this training will build his overall raw physical strength, telling him to keep at it until it works. With a slight smirk, he warns there's no next phase until he manages to pop that thing open. Sweating bullets, our boy starts panicking as he realizes how brutal this task actually is. Jun-soo thinks to himself that he knew it, believing our MC only got in through pure nepotism. So he just starts walking toward the dojo, heading up the stairs. He reflects on how it's been 2 years since he joined the association, grinding harder than anyone to prove he's worthy of being a direct disciple. But on the end, the guy who bagged a spot wasn't a B-rank like him, just some random kid from the department. Annoyed, he concludes that no matter how you look at it, this whole setup is completely unfair. Right then, someone walks up and says good morning, calling him Senior Jun-soo. It's our MC, who smiles and lets Jun-soo know he's the second one to show up today. The senior mentions our kid got there pretty early, and the rookie replies that even on a day off he needs to stay on top of things. Our kid tells him to speak casually since he's the new guy, but Junsu replies that while he might be cool with it, he doesn't feel the same way. Once inside the dojo, the senior asks if our MC cleaned the place, and he confirms he did a sweep since it looked dusty. Junsu snaps at him not to do that again, explaining it makes the other disciples look lazy when the direct disciple handles chores. Getting confused, our boy wonders if they really need to pull rank for this kind of stuff. He explains he just had free time and wanted to help out, pointing out that being a direct disciple doesn't mean shoving work onto everybody else. Flashing a smile, he says everyone's here to get stronger, asking if that isn't the only thing that actually matters. Junsu stays silent, thinking to himself about how incredibly annoying our kid is. He narrates that over the next 2 weeks, our boy showed up to train every single day, grinding until late at night. And despite holding the direct disciple title, he never threw his weight around or looked down on the other trainees. Instead, the rookie actually got along super well with everyone at the dojo. On top of that, he trained like an absolute psycho. Watching it all unfold, Junsu concludes that our MC's attitude just pisses him off even more. Ultimately, Junsu admits our MC is exactly the kind of person he always wanted to be. Right as that moment, the training gear finally gives way with a loud snap. Sporting a huge grin, our boy yells he's almost got it and just needs a little more push. Stopping suddenly, he looks confused as someone offers him a bottle of water. It's Junsu telling him not to overdo it and calling him by his name, Seo Yul Hyung. Our kid smiles, pointing out it took a while for the senior to finally drop the formalities. While they stare at each other, a loud sound like a siren echoes through the spot. Our boy asks what that noise was, and Junsu explains it's the mobilization signal for the Overcross Guild. The senior mentions hearing the guild was hitting a nearby dungeon, and guesses today's the day, which surprises our MC given the time. Junsu mentions Overcross grinds 24/7 and is super dedicated, so our kid points out he knows them pretty well, prompting the senior to confirm he used to work for them. The scene cuts to a dense forest fully lit by the sun. Stepping out of a purple gate, a bunch of fully geared soldiers start marching through the woods. One of the hunters comments the operation was surprisingly fast, wrapping everything up in just one day. Their whole mission was to bag an iron blood orc, which is now locked inside a blue energy cube. Asking if they actually have clearance to hunt that type of mob, one guy hears his partner reply that technically they don't. He then explains the captured orc will fetch at least 12 billion won on the market, and they get paid big exactly because they sell stuff like this. Trapped inside the cube, the orc stares at a necklace one of the hunters is holding and asks if that's worth anything. Panning in, the camera focuses on the creature's face, showing off a bloodied mouth. Mocking it, the soldier calls the item trash and tells him to toss it, asking who would even buy that garbage. Pissed off by the answer, the orc bares its massive fangs, flashing razor-sharp teeth and a look of pure rage. And no one saw that coming. The Ironblood orc bursts with blue energy and shatters its prison, right while the hunters are laughing at the situation. Right after that, an orange gate rips open in the middle of a city, spitting the soldiers out onto the sidewalk. Getting up, one of them asks our kid if they should head back since the mission is a wrap. Riking a hoodie, our MC says he's heading straight to the association, but his co-worker insists he pull up to the team dinner. He turns it down, explaining he can't make it because the master is out today and he promised to keep an eye on the other guys. Suddenly our boy looks up with a dead serious expression, making his partner ask what's wrong now. An emergency alert blasts through the comms, requesting immediate backup from every single squad. The alert drops the news that a 3-star boss monster, which was being illegally transported, just broke out and is wrecking the place. Then, the broadcast reveals the attack is happening right at the Korean Martial Arts Association. Cutting to the association, now in total ruins. A disciple screams in panic, wondering where the heck that orc came from. Trying to evacuate a little girl crying in fear. A woman yells for her to get out of there right now. The massive, terrifying orc steps closer to Gunsu, who's stuck on the ground calling out for the master. The senior's face is completely covered in blood and cuts, showing just how bad things really are. Junsu starts narrating his past, remembering he genuinely thought he was a prodigy. He used to justify his actions, telling himself that exploiting smaller guilds was just the natural right of the strong. But after walking into a cave, he and his squad ran face first into some monstrous creatures. Watching his whole team get wiped out, he realized he was just another disposable pawn. Bleeding out on the floor, he reflects that it was only then he understood how brutal the world actually is. Even so, gripping the hilt of a broken sword, he says he refuses to believe everything is completely rotten. Remembering the person who saved his life back in the day, he now wants to become someone exactly like that. His only wish is to help people and make the world at least a little bit better. Back in the present, a badly injured Gunsu Gunsu screams that this exact mindset is how he survived 2 years of hell, cursing out the orc. He figures he can barely stand up, but he's gotta hold on and keep the monster's attention focused squarely on him. Locking in, he braces himself to take on the creature, planning to hold it off for at least a minute. But seeing the orc charge full speed, he corrects himself, stating he needs to survive even if it's just for a single second. The massive monster gears up a heady punch wrapped in a huge red aura, ready to crush Gunsu flat. Right then, our MC pops up out of nowhere, blocks the strike, and tells Gunsu he's done more than enough. The senior, shocked and bleeding, stutters our kid's name, Seo Yulhaeyoung. Our boy, rocking glowing eyes and a blue aura, tells him to leave the rest to him. Holding an energy sphere, he repeats firmly for Junso to leave everything to him. Next, the scene cuts to high-speed movement tearing across the dojo floor. Stomping hard, our kid thinks he kept his cool and dragged the monster into a dungeon, but things definitely got complicated. Now running from the orc, he screams at the creature to chill with the aggression, admitting the beast is way more monstrous than he expected. Our boy wonders if that Ironblood orc really just threw down with the Overcross Guild. Watching the creature sprint, he realizes he's never seen anything bust through maze walls like that before. He then concludes the monster totally deserves the title of unique orc, and taking it down solo is gonna be brutal. Seeing things getting rough, he decides he absolutely needs a game plan to handle this creature. The whole place starts shaking while our MC preps his next attack strategy. Deciding to go all out, he summons an army of smaller creatures to rush the orc all at once. Every single one of his monsters charges into a full-on assault against the massive enemy. The creature roars in pure rage as it gets totally swarmed by our kid's summons. Except the orc just shatters the summons with a single strike, leaving our boy completely shook. With just one swing, the monster completely shreds the minions that charged it. Getting pushed back, our kid curses the orc in anger, asking if he has any idea how long it took to set all that up. He realizes normal mobs won't create an opening, and even though he didn't want to use a risky move, he figures there's no other choice to stop the orc from using more hardened blood. Right then, a much larger and way stronger summon stomps heavily onto the dojo floor. The orc glares at the new creature showing up, a massive and way more intimidating monster. Our MC summons the boss of the dungeon he controls, a creature named Kayori. The new summon roars and charges the orc with full force, kicking off a massive clash of titans. Kayori manages to grab the monster's head and bites down mercilessly. While the two monsters throw down, our boy sprints toward them, saying he finally found exactly what he needed. Taking advantage of the orc's distraction, he yells that he spotted an opening and launches a devastating attack. Taking a direct hit, the Ironblood orc lets out a roar of pure pain and fury. Our kid summon Kayori opens its massive jaws full of razor-sharp teeth, ready to swallow the enemy whole. But the Ironblood orc counters with a brutal strike and literally blows the dungeon boss to pieces. Instantly, a system notification pops up stating the dungeon boss has been defeated. A second alert drops right after, explaining that because of this, monster respawning is currently locked. Pissed off, our MC screams that thanks to the orc, his dungeon boss is fully gone. Getting blown back by the explosion, he curses, saying the monster is completely insane. The camera then pans up to the maze ceiling, which starts shifting in a super weird way. Suddenly, a trap triggers, dropping an absolute rain of steel down on the enemy. The steel arrows drop with crazy speed, filling the hallway and aiming straight for the orc. Using the distraction, our boy rushes in and manages to stab his spear right into the orc's shoulder. With his eyes glowing, he yells that he's striking again, giving the beast zero time to breathe. He then spins his body and lands a heavy blow straight into the creature's side. Using quick footwork, our MC repositions himself on the battlefield. Right after, another trap triggers, this time dropping massive spikes from the ceiling. A bunch of giant spikes slam down violently, crushing the smaller mobs that were still hanging around. Our kid watches the scene, thinking he stacked up all those traps in this area for a solid reason. Seeing the floor covered in blood and debris, he concludes it's a good thing he prepped ahead of time. Just then, a blue system screen pops up right in front of him, showing the dungeon's status. The alert states the dungeon's durability dropped to 72% and it'll collapse if it hits 60 or if all 11 remaining mobs get wiped out. Surrounded by two goblins, he reflects that losing the boss was a heavy hit, but he'd be totally screwed right now if it wasn't for him. him. Standing next to a goblin, our boy turns around, just mumbling a question. Out of nowhere, the Iron-Blood orc rushes in at top speed, leaving our MC's minion completely shocked. With its red eyes glowing, the creature lets out a deafening roar, flashing its massive fangs. The monster's battle cry echoes through the place as it charges full force straight at our kid, spawning a gate. Our boy praises the orc's determination, but complains he's breaking everything and points out it's gotta be way quieter outside. Then he uses the energy gate to suck the orc in and drag it right back to the association. The scene cuts to a quiet wooden walkway back at the dojo. Jun-Soo is standing there wondering where Se-Yul-Hyun went since all the other students already bailed. Suddenly, a blue energy gate pops up in the courtyard, leaving the senior totally confused. Curious, Jun-Soo walks up and reaches out to touch the energy sphere. He feels a sudden surge of mana in the air and gets completely shook by the sheer power coming from it. Right then, Arcade and the orc step out of the gate and Gunsu screams, calling out for him. The massive monster looks around the new setting, ready to keep wrecking the place. Our boy rushes in and blocks one of the creature's attacks with his spear. He wonders what the heck is going on and if he's only managing to trade blows evenly because the orc is running out of gas. He notices the monster's strikes are hitting way heavier and his muscles are screaming just from blocking. But something feels different. Our MC realizes his body feels completely different than before. He thinks back to the 2 weeks of intense training and concludes they definitely weren't for nothing. The scene flashes his determined smile while pushing through the heavy training. Back in the fight, he feels his body getting torn apart, but a steady stream of power keeps surging from within. Our kid pushes forward, thinking he can literally feel the growth deep in his bones. His weapon glows super bright, fully charged with a powerful red energy. He then unleashes a strike that explodes into light the second it impacts the monster. The Iron-Blood orc spits blood, feeling the sheer force of the hit that just nailed him. Rocking a slight smirk and an aura of power all around him, our boy says this is actually getting fun. Our MC gears up, but the red creature is already charging back in with its fist raised to strike. Then, the monster rushes with everything it has, unleashing a dark, sinister red energy. Slamming a punch into the ground, the beast sends our kid flying, who braces himself for the impact. Next, our boy gets launched across the room, slamming hard and bouncing off the floor. Stuck on the ground, he realizes the beast isn't actually dumb, since it knows he can't pierce its skin without a weapon. Getting back up, he looks confused as he spots something taking shape. The creature then manifests a razor-sharp blade straight out of its own body. Right after, the monster turns back to our kid, ready to use its brand new weapon. Except, out of nowhere, his partner comes sprinting in to intercept the strike. His friend pulls up with a flying punch straight to the beast's face. Then, the partner yells to our MC that he's gonna buy him time to grab a weapon. But the creature reacts instantly and violently slams the guy into the ground with zero mercy. Our boy's friend coughs in pure pain, feeling the full weight of the counterattack. Meanwhile, our kid gets up and lets him know he already has a weapon covered. Seeing the beast guard down, he yells, "This is his shot," and rushes in with a devastating kick. Our MC's kick lands perfectly, fully caving in the red creature's face. He then declares he's gonna squeeze every last drop of energy from his body and blow everything up. With a hyper-focused glare, the kid announces it's game over for the monster. Out of nowhere, a massive skeletal jaw spawns and bites down on the creature. The skull's bite is precise and absolutely brutal, catching the enemy completely off guard. Even while screaming for death, the red-armored monster is the one getting crushed by the teeth. Next, the skull throws the beast across the room, sending it flying through the air while bleeding out. The enemy hits the ground totally defeated, while our boy just watches it happen. Right after, a system screen pops up, dropping the notification that he acquired the unique grade item, the demonic dagger. Looking at the monster's skull, he throws a thanks to the big guy. Our kid says that thanks to him, he's finally ready to level up to the next phase of training. Nearby, his injured friend hears someone ask if he's doing all right. The partner, barely hanging on, recognizes that familiar voice. It's our boy telling him to hold on tight and not pass out on him. When the friend finally wakes up, our MC asks if he's awake now, joking that the guy seriously has 9 lives. Still on the ground, his friend points out it was our MC who actually saved him. Our kid acts a bit confused, replying there was literally no one else around to watch his back, so he should just chill. Glancing at the monster body scattered around, our boy declares it's finally all over. The next day, the scene cuts to the agency's headquarters. This massive massive modern building. Outside, a massive crowd of reporters and photographers is grouped up, causing a huge scene. One of the journalists spots someone pulling up and alerts the rest of the crew. It's Overcross director Baek Chun-hwan, the white-haired guy, stepping out right into the flashing cameras. The reporters instantly swarm him, demanding a statement on the incident and asking if it was the result of illegal monster transport. Baek stops and kicks off his speech by offering his deepest apologies to all the victims. But he justifies it by claiming the Iron-Blood Orc is a monster of insane research value, and despite the risks, they only brought it in to donate it. The director wraps it up saying he can't drop any more details right now, but promises to fully cooperate with the monitoring department's investigation. Suddenly, someone in the crowd points straight at our boy and yells that it's the rescuer of Seoul, leaving our kid super confused. Instantly, all the reporters turn to him, demanding to know how a D-rank hunter managed to take down an orc. Getting helped along by a coworker, our MC apologizes, saying he'll do interviews later since he actually needs to get to work. While his friend drags him away, he thinks about how the agency's response to the incident was totally garbage. He reflects that the agency literally exists to keep the big guilds in check and stop incidents like this, wondering if they don't share some of the blame too. His coworker gets pissed at what one of the reporters says and tells our boy to just ignore the guy. He explains the dude is just a YouTuber getting paid to post trash, and arguing with him is a total waste of time. Our kid flashes a slight smirk, thinking they're really pulling out all the dirty tricks now. So, he tells his friend he'll be back in a second, leaving the coworker totally confused about where he's going. Our boy walks right up to the YouTuber, grabs the mic, and asks if this is a live stream. He explains his reason is that he wants everyone to hear exactly what he has to say in real time. With his eyes glowing, he yells into the mic, asking if it feels good getting paid to clean up other people's trash. Then he points straight at director Beck and keeps going, asking if they don't realize they're the ones constantly cleaning up the mess the guilds leave behind. The whole crowd goes dead silent, completely shook by our kid's audacity. He then turns right to the director and asks with a smile if he's right or not. Director Bake just stares back with a smug smirk, not saying a single word. Suddenly, one of his coworkers grabs him by the hair from behind, making our MC yell in pain. His friends apologize to the crowd, claiming he's sick and just talking nonsense, while dragging him away from the scene. Director Beck then mentions to his assistant that this was the same punk who talked back to him earlier, and the assistant confirms it. Director Beck mentions to his assistant that this was the same punk who talked back to him earlier, and the assistant confirms it. So Beck calls for his assistant, Manager O, who answers instantly. Rocking a furious glare, the director orders him to absolutely crush that little punk. The scene cuts to a meeting room inside the agency. On a screen, they're playing the video of the YouTuber who confronted our kid, and someone points out it was posted yesterday. Ever since the video went live, news about Supervisor Seo Yul, RMC, has completely taken over the media. Our kid's team leader sighs, admitting his squad member spoke out of turn, but argues that any disciplinary action would be way overkill. He keeps going, stating the blame obviously falls on the big guilds, the videos are staged, and there's also a ton of articles hyping our boy up. One of the bosses in the room fires back, saying staged or not, people are talking, and the backlash is coming from everywhere. Hyun Ki-hike, the head of the agency's monitoring department, declares that since this is the case, it's only fair our kid gets punished. Team leader Lee Han stands up and argues the punishment should hit Overcross or the people supposed to manage them. And when the boss asks if he's calling them incompetent, Lee Han says yes. Right after, he slams his fist hard on the table in pure frustration. Yoon-ki Hayek gets pissed and yells at Lee Han, asking if he's totally lost his mind. A woman in the room breaks up the fight, telling both of them to knock it off. Then she asks Lee Han if it's true that Supervisor Seo Yul's recent rescue success rate is at a flawless 100%, and he confirms it. Hyun Ki-hyuk looks at his superior and asks if he's got a game plan. Taking a sip of his drink, the director states that since they made an interesting move, even if they can't pay it back completely, agency director Park Kwang-soo concludes they need to respond with the same energy. In a quiet, well-lit hallway, the story picks right back up. Someone knocks on the director's office door, cracking their knuckles to prep. After getting the green light, our kid opens the door and walks into the room. He steps up to the desk and asks the director exactly why he got called in. The man just invites him to take a seat first. Then the director mentions they've got something major to talk about. A hot cup of tea is set down on the table. The director asks what he thinks of the tea he brewed, and our MC hypes it up, saying he could easily open his own cafe. Happy with the answer, the boss says he's going to ask a question just out of curiosity. He asks our kid what rank he thinks he'd hit if he retook the classification test right now. Our boy answers he isn't totally sure but promises it definitely wouldn't be his current rank. The director agrees, pointing out that lately he's been pulling off stuff a D rank could never even dream of. He keeps going, mentioning things have been pretty rough for them too, since there's no shortage of people trying to dig up dirt on our kid. Our MC gets thoughtful, wondering where this whole conversation is heading and if the director is trying to get him to spill his secrets in exchange for help. In his head, he IDs him as Park Kwang-soo, the director of the management agency, a total political mastermind who's held the spot forever. Our boy remembers getting advice to stay humble and honest in front of the director, cause trying to play it smart would only backfire. Sitting in silence, he holds his cup and wonders if it's actually safe to mention the maze right now. But the director cools him down, telling him not to sweat it since he isn't going to ask how he got so cracked all of a sudden. The boss then explains the most important thing right now is that the agency needs his power, so he's going to cut straight to the chase. He drops the news that he's sending our kid out to the countryside. The scene then cuts to the outside of the building right at sunset. Meanwhile, a guy gets released, and someone mentions the investigation wrapped up super fast thanks to the surveillance department. Walking down a hallway, a white-haired man asks coordinator An Si-woo what he thinks about Hunter Seo Yul, but An replies he has no clue since they work in totally different departments. The superior keeps pushing, wanting to know why he cares so much about a simple rescue worker, and An flips the question right back. With a dark glare, the boss says it's cause there's literally nothing more annoying than a pest buzzing right in your face. An Si-woo asks if that's the reason he shipped him out to the countryside, but the guy warns him to watch his mouth, claiming he just wanted the kid to take some time to reflect. Getting suspicious, the older guy asks if the two of them are close or something, right after they get totally surprised when they almost bump into someone. It was assistant manager Seo Yul, our kid, standing right in front of them. The white-haired man then greets him, saying fate keeps bringing them together and mentioning he heard the news during the investigation. The director finishes up, saying he caught wind of the news that he's getting sent to the countryside, which leaves An Si-woo completely shook. Our boy acts surprised, pointing out the official announcement hasn't even dropped yet, and asks if the guy is stalking him. Then, he tells them not to worry about him, since it's just a 6-month mission anyway. Director Beck clenches his fist and calls our kid an optimist for thinking it's only going to be 6 months. He then explains the agency only sends department heads or higher for this kind of gig, asking if he seriously thinks this is just a mission. The older guy steps up and says it's time to face reality, revealing that even coordinator An had zero clue since he was waiting to announce it to everybody. Flashing a smile, our boy announces that, as of today, he got bumped up from level 8 to level 6, becoming a senior officer with a double promotion. Both of them are left in absolute shock over the news of the double promotion. Our MC talks some trash, pointing out the director doesn't look too hyped about his promotion, but Beck claims he's congratulating him, except he starts wondering if the agency is just handing out promotions for literally any reason now. Our kid claps back, saying it just proves how desperate they are to hold on to real talent, and adds he knows the director is pissed things didn't go his way. Right then, the two of them lock eyes with an intense aura of pure rivalry. An Si-woo steps in, grabbing director Baek Joon-won's shoulder and telling him they need to bounce. Baek apologizes, saying he got distracted for a second. Then, the director announces he's heading out and walks off with An, while our MC watches the two of them walk down the hall. Before leaving, Beck turns back around and asks if our kid wants a piece of advice. He then states that trying to break him just by swapping his location was a massive mistake. Our boy fires back, saying no matter where they send him, his job as a rescue hunter isn't gonna change. Turning around, the two men just keep walking down the hallway. While walking, An Si-woo catches the tension and calls out to director Beck, who stops dead in his tracks. In a fit of rage, the older guy throws a brutal punch right into the wall next to him. The impact hits so hard it wrecks part of the wall, leaving a trail of dust and debris behind. With his face turning red from anger, Beck curses those damn pests. Shifting back to the director's office, the scene focuses on the nameplate reading Park Kwang-soo. Standing there, Park looks out the window while holding a cup. He tells our boy not to sweat it, cause even though it looks like a demotion or exile, it's just a 6-month mission. The boss keeps going, stating our MC will need to show results out there since that's the only way to keep everyone else off his back. Listening in, our kid looks super thoughtful and totally zoned out. Catching on, the director points out he seems to have something else on his mind, and the boy apologizes. Thanking Park for his his help. He mentions he has one request, and the director tells him to go ahead, so he starts saying that, since he's heading out there anyway. Our MC then wraps up his request, saying he'd appreciate it if he got sent somewhere that actually needs his help. Left completely speechless, the director thinks he can't believe the kid would actually say that right now. Looking out of the city through the window, Park figures our boy is truly unbelievable. The scene shifts over to an empty office hallway. A coworker with glasses starts freaking out, wondering how on earth Seo Yul became a senior officer in a single day and is still getting shipped to the countryside. Asking the department head if he knew about this, the man confirms that yeah, he did. Standing up, the guy with glasses worries about how they're gonna handle rescues without RMC, but his boss just says they'll do the job like they always do. The boss then mentions the kid got a week off and tells the coworker to call him about the team dinner, making the guy complain about who even goes to work dinners on their day off. He makes the call and our MC picks up, saying he's busy, so the coworker asks what he's up to. Our boy answers he's finishing some late homework while the scene cuts to a creepy dark forest. Totally confused, the friend repeats, "Homework," confirming it. Our MC is seen standing right in the middle of a massive horde of insect monsters. Flashing a smile, he explains he's just clearing out a wasp nest. Right then, a system window pops up with an elimination quest to take down the Caneceptor, the apex of the swarm, within 72 hours, offering rewards and a 50% debuff against insect mobs if he fails. Promising to call back later, our MC hangs up right in his friend's face, leaving him completely clueless. With only 3 days left on the quest, he thinks he actually believed he got there fast enough. Spotting a massive swarm closing in, he jumps back and comments on how insanely fast they spawn troops. Holding his glowing weapon, he figures that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, as long as he doesn't get completely pinned down. So he charges straight into the swarm of flying monsters. With glowing eyes, he locks onto his target and says he just needs to take down the queen. Except all of a sudden, a bunch of sharp projectiles come flying right at him. Managing to defend himself, he deflects the spikes away with his weapon. Our kid gets surprised, wondering if the queen actually managed to spawn those guys too. The new mobs are called Sweet Fits, a fully armored wasp variant. While blocking, he thinks about how they shoot stingers like bullets, a tactic the queen usually avoids, since it drains too much energy, wondering if they were already prepped. Realizing he's gonna get swarmed if he wastes any more time, he decides to make a move. Right before that, he leaps over a blue gate that spawns on the ground. The monsters chase him straight toward the gate, but a giant creature steps out of it instead. RMC then mentions he can still handle this many enemies just using dungeon traps. While the mobs get sucked into a fiery gate, he figures the sphere is gonna mess with the wasp's balance, so he needs to push to the nest right now. Just then, one of the insect mobs dashes straight at him, moving at crazy high speed. The beast gets ready to strike. Then, our boy realizes he's completely surrounded by a bunch of them. Noticing their attack pattern suddenly shifted, he wonders if they're staying grounded to avoid getting sucked in, concluding the queen is getting suspicious. So, he focuses entirely on the queen, who stands out right in the middle of the swarm. It becomes super obvious she's been keeping her eyes on him from the very start. Rocking a smirk, our kid feels honored she's using whatever little brain she has just to try and catch him. But in a flashback, he remembers he actually cooked up a strategy of his own, since he can't summon any new dungeon mobs right now. As the system window shows, he's got to work with what he already has. His game plan was simple, and basically involved using the dungeon gate. First, a notification pops up showing him stepping into the dungeon. Right after, he forces one of the monsters to walk into the gate alongside him. The whole idea was to drag the absolute minimum number of mobs inside the dungeon. And moments later, a new notification confirms he just stepped back out. Channeling energy into his feet, he decides to milk his plan for all it's worth. Then, our kid goes flying right over the massive energy sphere on the ground. Locking in with a determined look, he decides to use the sphere to his advantage. Throwing himself right into the energy blast, he uses the force to launch himself forward. Sticking a solid landing on the ground, he stares dead at the nest. Challenging the queen, he tells her to stop hiding and show herself already. And right on cue, the queen steps out from the shadows directly in front of him. It's the swarm boss herself, the Quinceptor. Staying totally quiet, our MC watches the creature super closely. Noticing her pheromones are spiking, he wonders if she's trying to call in the rest of the wasps. The whole situation reminds him of his chat, where he told the director that trying to break him by moving his location was a mistake. He doubles down on the thought that no matter where they send him, at the end of the day, his rescue job stays exactly the same. The memory plays on, showing the two men walking away down the hall. Suddenly, the director stops, making An Si-woo question what's up. In a total fit of rage, Director Bake slams a brutal punch right into the wall. The hallway wall cracks and crumbles from the sheer force of the hit. Fueled by pure hate, Director Beck curses out those damn bugs. Cutting back to the fight, our kid remembers he even called a specific monster into the battle. He figures that with this guy out of the way, bagging the queen is going to be a breeze. That specific monster is a demonic beast rocking glowing red eyes. So our MC uses his energy sphere to suck the creature right in. Locking onto the plan, he's totally determined to catch the queen this way. Screaming desperately, the creature gets dragged straight into the gate. Except at the very last second, the beast fights back and uses its wing to strike our boy. A massive explosion of purple energy bursts out from the impact. Right after the beast manages to break free, but leaves one of its arms behind, gripped tight by our MC. Getting annoyed, our kid curses the monster out for bailing on him. He then realizes the beast literally sliced its own arm off just to avoid getting fully swallowed by the sphere. Even so, our boy is pretty blown away by the sheer strength of the creature's wings. Flying away, the beast turns its head and shoots a menacing glare right at our kid. Our MC calls out that the two of them are being a huge pain and there's 0 point in fighting. He concludes nothing is going to change, while his energy sphere drags the entire environment inside. Suddenly, the scene shifts to a castle hall, deep inside the dungeon. Now, the queen and her bodyguard, Wingslash, are trapped in this new zone alongside our kid. He mentions that even though it wasn't the original plan, this totally works too, since the mobs are now stuck in his turf alone. Shooting a dead serious glare, he warns the winged monster not to make any reckless moves. But the beast just ignores him and charges, while our kid mentions he's been doing some dungeon remodeling. Flashing a little smirk, he thinks talking to monsters all by himself makes him look kinda weird. Next, he taps a holographic interface and triggers the area's traps. A notification confirms the Iron Rain is live, catching Wingslash completely off guard. A barrage of projectiles drops from the ceiling, but the beast uses its wings to shield itself and the queen. Our MC admits the monster definitely lives up to its name by guarding them both, but warns there's a catch. The arrows aren't just coming from above, with way more flying at them from the sides. Taking the heads head-on, Wingslash feels the full impact of the strike. The queen also gets pinned to the ground, and our boy repeats he already told them nothing would change no matter how hard they fought. Our MC states he set up so many traps to deal with them that the place is fully packed, while the queen starts catching fire. Looking down at her, he comments that now that the ultimate weapon is out of the picture, it's finally just the two of them left, shooting her a mocking smirk. Gripping his energy staff, our boy gears up to go all out with his attack. He notices the queen's armor is actually tough enough to deflect the steel rain. Because of that, he figures piercing it won't be easy, so instead of wasting energy, he decides to swap tactics. Dashing at high speed, he charges straight at the creature. Instead of zoning her out, he decides he's gonna crack her armor at close range. Except out of nowhere, the queen fires a purple energy beam, catching our kid completely off guard. Taking a direct hit from the blast, he gets blown backward. Even after tanking the hit, our boy manages to stay on his feet, gripping his glowing weapon tight. Flashing a little smile, he figures she wasn't just gonna sit there and nothing is ever easy. Checking his interface, he remembers he still has 3 days left but decides he wants to wrap this quest up right now. With a determined look, he thinks walking away just cause he has time would make it look like he's running. So, he triggers another trap, the explosive block, right as the queen rushes at him. The ground right under her violently blows up, shattering everything around. The sheer force of the blast launches the creature into the air, completely disorienting her. He then preps a skill that drains his weapon's durability, wrapping it entirely in flames. Figuring the insane destructive power is totally worth the cost, he unloads the strike straight into the queen. Our kid decides that since he's popping this skill for the very first time, it's only fair he uses it to finish her off completely. Then, he unleashes a devastating attack, sparking a massive explosion of fire and energy. The Quensceptor gets entirely swallowed by the flames, leaving her 0 chance to escape. The name of this crack technique is Red Lotus. Right after, a system notification confirms the quest is cleared and the queen is officially defeated. The creature's body just lies on the ground, totally wrecked by the blast. Panting hard, our MC is completely drained after burning through all that energy. He then stares down at a new mark that just popped up on his hand. Flashing back, he sees himself as a firefighter, thinking about how he saved a ton of people back in the day. But he also remembers that, in the end, he was just a helpless weakling against strong monsters, which is exactly why today he's totally sure of one thing. Clenching his fist tight, he thinks back on his past weakness. Rocking a determined smile while a bunch of windows show his levels spiking, he promises he's never gonna run away again. Wrapping things up, one last notification lets him know the quest rewards have been dropped into his inventory. Standing in the middle of the dungeon with the survivors, our boy decides it's time to check out his loot. So, he pulls out the first item, a dagger rocking a blue crystal handle. The status window shows it's the Stinger Dagger, a rare item with a 95% chance to paralyze 2-star mobs or lower, plus a solid attack speed buff. Figuring the dagger could come in clutch depending on the situation, he mentions there's something way more important to check. With a grin, he grabs the second item, the Quinceptor's Royal Jelly, glowing bright right in his hand. The description says it's a rare, single-use item that alters body constitution and heavily boosts mana sensitivity, but drops a warning to watch out for side effects. He thinks that since traps burn through mana automatically, he definitely needs a bigger energy pool to spam them. So, not thinking twice, he downs the glowing jelly. Seconds later, his eyes start glowing with an intense golden light. A massive surge of blue energy erupts from his body, swirling wildly all around him. Screaming in pain, he feels the overwhelming power completely taking over. Realizing the condensed mana from the jelly is flooding his system, he feels it trying to violently burst out. Refusing to let that happen, he decides to focus on his breathing to get the mana flow under control. Locking in hard, he tries to force his blood vessels to absorb all that pure energy. Finally, he stands up, totally wrapped in a cracked blue energy aura, while the rescued mobs just watch the whole thing. And that's where it gets crazy. A system notification hits him with a congrats, announcing he just unlocked a special constitution, the 10,000 Souls Peach Blossom body. Our MC instantly feels all his senses leveling up, concluding that after eating royal jelly, this kind of spike was totally expected. His profile window shows he hit level 40 with his mana stat jumping to an insane 520 points. Flashing a satisfied smirk, he figures this is exactly why he risks his life grinding these quests. Except, then he remembers the item's warning and gets super curious about what those side effects actually are. Deciding to worry about that later, he notes the real main event is about to kick off right now. Touching the nest floor, he announces he's about to bind a new mob to his dungeon. He thinks about how right now, the only units left in his dungeon are just a few red goblins. Our kid reflects that no matter how OP he gets, there's obviously a cap on what he can pull off completely solo. Because of that, staring down at the eggs, he concludes he desperately needs to restock his army. Suddenly, a fresh system notification pops up right in his face. The alert states the hive is registered as a single entity and strongly suggests installing the Lake of Corruption. He figures this has to be a brand new trap, unlocked right after bodying the Quinceptor. The description breaks down that tossing a mob's body into the lake transfers its XP or traits directly to a dungeon unit. Our boy then realizes that, in other words, if he applies the Lake of Corruption buff to this hive, he concludes every single egg is going to get a massive power spike instantly, while green energy fully floods the hive. Then, a notification confirms the hive eggs are officially locked in as his designated dungeon mobs. Rocking a grin, our kid wonders which one of these guys he should pick as the new dungeon boss. So, pointing straight at a specific egg, he figures it looks pretty solid since it's way bigger than the rest. He tells the egg to just sit tight, promising he'll start bringing a bunch of tasty guys for it to snack on. Right then, he decides to name the future mob Vespa, and the egg starts glowing bright. And shortly after, a system notification confirms the new dungeon boss is officially named Vespa. The scene then cuts over to a restaurant late at night. Inside the spot, An Si-woo and director Bake are throwing back some drinks, cheersing their glasses. The director comments that Lee Jung-hee must be stressing over An Si-woo's mission, considering she actually offered to cover the bill. An Si-woo makes a face right after downing his drink. Wondering why she's showing up later than them, he hears director Beck reply that being late is basically her daily routine. The director then asks what Si-woo has been up to lately, and he answers he's been spending all his time grabbing food for the guy he's raising. Looking super confused, Bake asks if he's raising some kind of rare pet or something. Si-woo then mentions that, going off the director's advice, he actually went back to retake his rank test. Si-woo states most people would have just taken a trip or something, but director Beck cuts him off, calling him the biggest weirdo among their crew. Beck then brings up something that's been bugging him for a minute, while a group of girls in the back keep staring at Si-woo. He asks if Si-woo hasn't noticed that literally everyone, especially the ladies, has been staring at him non-stop. Glad to hear he wasn't the only one feeling it, An Si-woo jokes about having a glow-up over break, but quickly brushes the thought off. Suddenly, he stands up after spotting someone walk in, and the director announces Her Highness finally made it. It's Lee Jung-hye, walking up waving and asking if they already started grilling the meat. Complaining that she's got some nerve showing up late, Si-woo declares she's on grill duty for the rest of the night, but he stops mid-sentence, catching something totally off and asking what's wrong with her. Surprised, Jung-hye realizes her nose is completely bleeding. The meat is just sitting on the restaurant grill, sizzling away as it cooks. Meanwhile, Jung Ye struggles hard trying to grill the food, while Si-woo and Director Baek just watch her closely. Offering to take over the tongs, Si-woo gets rejected as she insists on cooking since she pulled up late. He begs her to at least open her eyes, complaining she's making him anxious and totally ruining the meat. All of a sudden, Jung-hae gets super dizzy, completely surrounded by this weird purple aura. Then Si-woo grabs her wrist tight, catching the girl totally off guard. Rocking a sparkle in his eyes and a cheesy romantic filter, he asks what on earth she's doing. Right then, she just blacks out completely and falls straight backward. Freaking out, he screams her name, wondering why she's acting so out of it. The scene shifts, and now he's holding a passed-out Jung-ye, yelling for a medic named Yu-lim to call an ambulance. Except the blushing lady takes the chance to ask for his phone number. Looking completely confused, Sikri wonders if she's actually serious right now. He then thinks about how first it was Jung-ye, and now this medic acting super weird. Then, a pink aura wraps around him and he starts getting suspicious about what's going down. The scene cuts to a tree at night glowing with that same mysterious energy. Now outside, Jung-ye downs a drink to try and pull herself together. Sitting on a bench, she lets out a sigh, while Director Baek, standing next to her and our boy, asks if she's finally back to normal. Our kid turns to her, and she stares right back, looking a bit awkward with a flushed face. Gung-hae claims she just blacked out for a second from being so tired, but the director warned her to lay off all the overtime. Except our boy thinks to himself that, in reality, this whole thing is completely his fault. He remembers the special constitution he bagged from the royal jelly was the peach blossom aura, and, just like a queen bee using pheromones, he had zero clue the skill packed a side effect of attracting the opposite gender. Our MC figures this is going to be a hassle and he needs to stay locked in to stop the pheromones from leaking out. Meanwhile, Jung-ye thinks her heart wouldn't race that fast just from being tired, admitting that in that moment, she feels that she might have just fallen for him. Completely ignoring the vibe, our kid, now rocking a hoodie, just tells her she really needs to see a doctor later. Playfully throwing her arm around him, Jung-ye tells him to chill, making him reflect that it's been a minute since he had a normal day like this. Holding a can, our boy figures he's been grinding so hard to level up that he can enjoy one peaceful day just for today. The scene then cuts over to the front of a massive modern building during the day. Inside, a woman in a lab coat hands a report to a guy, letting him know these are the rank test results for Inspector Seo Yul. Scanning the paperwork, the man notices the magnitude is 17-1/2, and since the cutoff for S rank is 7-8, he concludes Seo Yul is pretty much right there. Agreeing with hype, his assistant says leaking this to the media would do wonders for the agency's rep. But the boss closes the folder, ordering them to keep it under wraps for now. Looking confused, the lady asks if he's sure about this, wanting to know why. He explains he doesn't want to overwhelm the inspector just yet, adding that, when the time is right, the news will spread on its own, while a massive ship cruises across the ocean. Now on the boat, An Shiwoo breathes a sigh of relief, finally catching a moment of peace. He thinks back to getting chased all the way to the docks, with his co-workers yelling at him to finish the report before dipping. Then he finds it super weird that a ship this huge is practically empty. Right then, a little kid walks up and asks if he's heading to Olingdo too. Siwoo confirms and asks why, so the boy answers it's just cause he rarely sees anyone on this boat. When asked if he rides the ship a lot, the kid explains he doesn't, only on the anniversary of his parents' passing to visit their graves with his grandma. Caught off guard, Siwoo goes quiet, but the boy chills him out, saying it's fine since it happened a long time ago. The kid then gives him a heads up, saying he doesn't know why he's traveling, but warns him to stay sharp since Ulundō is a dangerous spot. Calling out for Jiho, the boy's grandma asks if he grabbed the drinks, and he excitedly says yes, even bringing her favorite sweet coffee. Watching the boy, Siwoo wonders if he's really just a kid, remembering Ulundō is one of those high-risk zones. Gates pop up there all the time despite the island's size, but they lack enough awakened to handle them. Because of that, the safety rating has been at rock bottom for years, and even government funding got slashed. Even so, he figures the reason the locals don't just pack up and leave is probably cause it's their home. Watching Jiho and his grandma walk away, and that's where it gets crazy. The ocean gets super rough and violent waves start rocking the ship. The boat tilts hard, making Siwoo lose his balance along with the rest of the passengers. Out of nowhere, a massive tentacle covered in suction cups and crackling with lightning burst from the water. Soon after, a bunch of giant tentacles emerge from the ocean, striking the ship. Spooked out of his mind, Si-won wonders what the heck that is, realizing it's a giant octopus. Then, a system window drops an elimination quest to body the Kraken before it wakes up from hibernation. Packing rewards, limits, and a failure penalty. Reading the alert, Saiwi realizes this is the new quest, finding the failure penalty way harsher than he expected. Breaking down the conditions, he concludes the quest is basically forcing him to stay put until the monster is dead. But he faces the storm with pure determination, figuring he wasn't planning on bailing until he fixed the problem anyway. The scene then shifts to the front of the Bureau's branch building in Ulumdo. Inside, a guy wraps up presenting the rescue department's performance report. Smoking a cigarette, a higher-up listens closely, looking thoughtful. Glancing at a chart, the boss asks if the results are basically the same as last month, and the guy says yes. Without warning, the boss kicks his feet right up onto the desk. Holding some playing cards, he states it's fine as is and tells them to keep it that way. Dismissing the squad, he orders everyone back to work, scoring a round of thanks. One of the team members walks up to another guy, calling him brother. Gripping a bottle, he asks why the rescue chief's spot, which was supposed to be his, went to someone else. The older brother explains that on Bak Guangsu's orders, an outsider arriving tomorrow snagged the spot, making the guy ask angrily who this dude even is. Answering back, the group leader says he's probably seen him online, since it's the rookie who beefed with Overcross. The guy questions if director Baek Junwan sent him, but the boss denies it, saying it seems like even Baek was kept in the dark. Standing up, he claims Overcross and their crew watch each other's backs, so they gotta take care of one another. Placing a hand on his subordinate's shoulder, he asks him to give the rookie a warm welcome for him. Leaning in, he whispers that if the guy makes the rookie disappear, they'll bag a reward from Overcross and the rescue chief spot will finally be his. Behind closed doors, the chat about An Si-woo's new quest keeps rolling. Director Baek explains Ulongdo is dealing with a bunch of issues, but the first one he'll tackle is the rescue division. Dropping the intel, he reveals the branch manager Cha Sokyeon keeps a closer eye on that department than any other. Sokyeon snags the monostones the rescue squad collects and pockets all the profits for himself. Baek admits they can't just fire the guy since he's got too much backing, and everyone sent their quits fast, leaving the agency's hands tied. Siwoo then asks if that's the long and short of it. Confirming it, the director says they know about the corruption, but by some miracle, Sokyeon keeps the island running. That's why he's trusting Siwoo's skills, promising to keep the mission quiet and use his own pole to help from afar. Rocking a serious look, Director Baek says to cut a long story short, the whole situation will shift based on what Siwoo manages to pull off, while the inspector stares down the branch's run-down building. Flashing a smirk, Siwoo comments that the facility's maintenance is already a total disaster. Right then, a young guy walks up, introducing himself as Yoon Sung-jae, the rescue department's healer. Asking where everyone else is, Siwoo hears Sung-jae reply that 7 members are on patrol and the rest are on standby in the office. Except, inside the room, the agents are actually playing cards, with cash and booze scattered all over the table. Spotting the duo in the hallway, one of the guys at the table asks Sung-jae who the dude next to him is. Looking nervous to answer, our boy cuts Sung-jae off, asking the agent who he thinks Siwoo is. Then, our kid turns around and introduces himself as the guy who's going to be running the show from now on. Mocking him, the guy at the table asks if he's the type who got exiled for talking too much, offering a drink to celebrate his arrival. Jumping on the bandwagon, the other agents yell for the new boss to drink with them, mentioning they never throw farewell parties around here. But our MC grabs the agent's hand and smashes the bottle right on the table, spilling everything. The whole squad is left in shock, having zero clue what's going on, while staring at the mess. With glowing eyes, Siwoo tells the idiots to pay attention and orders them to clean the spotless, asking if they got it. Pissed off, the agent calls him a lunatic, saying he gets the hype of moving up the ranks. But he warns that in this place, they have their own way of doing things. Right then, another guy, Cha Jin-soo, steps up and stares our MC down, asking where he got all that nerve. Getting close, Jin-soo notices Siwoo's disgusted look, and asks if he wants to drop the titles and throw hands, taunting that rumors say he's just a D rank. Our boy answers that if he gets beat, he'll leave quietly, but warns that if Jin-soo loses, he's going straight to the ER. Out of nowhere, a beat-up Sung-jae mocks Jin-soo, saying with a face like that, they'll mistake him for one of the beasts, making a coworker next to him crack up. Grinding his teeth in pure rage, Jin-soo curses the kid out. Right after he rushes the inspector screaming, "You piece of trash," and winds up a punch. Except our kid dodges and lands a clean punch right in Jin-soo's face. The hit connects heavy, making a sharp thud, sending him flying backward. The sheer force of the impact floors the agent. Stuck on the ground, Jin-soo groans in pain with his hand over his face. Walking up to him, our boy warns this is the last time he's using physical force against him, because after today the agent will never dare challenge punch him again. Getting back up, Jinsu screams in rage and charges right at the inspector, but Siwoo grabs his arm right mid-attack. Locking in with a serious glare, he grips the guy's arm tight. Seconds later, the agent screams in agony as our MC twists his arm. Then, the inspector tells him to shut up and lands a strike that makes him spit blood. With the bully on the floor, our kid comments that the loudest idiot finally stopped talking. Turning to the rest of the squad, he asks if anyone else wants to try their luck. Seeing no one make a move, Siwoo figures they don't and calls that excellent. Right after he calls out for the healer, and a spooked Sunjae answers back. Our boy then orders the healer to patch up the hideous idiot lying on the floor. Meanwhile, somewhere else on the island, night falls over a building. Inside, branch manager Chao Seokyeon and a few other guys are playing cards. One of his subordinates walks up from behind and calls out to him. Annoyed, Seokyeon turns around, reminding him he gave orders not to be bothered, but the guy apologizes, claiming it's an emergency. The subordinate then whispers something into the manager's ear, leaving him totally quiet. Back at the rescue squad headquarters, RMC keeps giving his speech to the team. He tells them whatever they do off the clock is none of his business, but since they belong to the rescue department, their only focus during work hours better be saving people. He then yells, asking if he made himself clear, leaving the whole squad quiet and staring at him. Flexing an intimidating aura, Siwoo demands an answer, making everyone scream in panic that they got it. Next, our kid says words aren't enough, so they need incentives, promising to hit up the higher-ups for a 15% raise for everyone. The agents are totally shook, one asking if a 15% bump is even possible, while another thinks he's just bluffing. Explaining that since it's a crazy dangerous zone and considering what's coming, Siwoo says the agency will definitely greenlight the raise. Slamming his fist on the table, he concludes that, however, they all need to change how they operate first. Rocking a little smile, Siwoo tells them to gear up, cause tomorrow is gonna be pretty fun. RMC then mentions he's looking forward to that pay bump, but a voice cuts him off. Suddenly, Cha So-hyun pops up at the door, introducing himself as the branch manager. Turning around, our boy answers that he's the supervisor sent straight from Seoul. Mocking him, So Kalyan asks if his men gave a proper welcome, and our kid confirms it was an incredibly fierce reception, adding that Chao Do-yeon in particular really stood out. He leaves the squad super tense. Asking why he's visiting, Siwoo hears the manager question if he really needs an excuse. Seokyeon claims the rescue department is a sector he personally manages, so he can drop by whenever he wants. Offering a hand for the future, he says if our kid needs anything, he'll provide all the help possible. Our boy just turns his head, rocking a totally unimpressed look. Right after Siwoo turns down the offer, leaving the manager pretty surprised. He mentions So Kalyan spent all day so busy playing cards, he missed the agency's notification. And just like that, everything changed. Our MC reveals that starting today, Ulsan-do is officially declared a calamity zone, leaving the manager shook, reminding him how it works. Siwoo states that during a crisis, specific divisions like the rescue squad get autonomous authority. Finally, he warns the rescue department reports exclusively to him now, meaning the branch manager has only one job left to do. Throwing up a thumbs up, our MC simply tells him to get out of there right now. A brutal storm hammers Ulsan-do Island, a place that looks like it's hiding some dangerous secrets. All of a sudden, an unstable gate pops up, shooting out electric sparks. A deafening noise fills the air as a demonic creature, rocking a single horn and a wicked glare, steps out of a purple rift. The sound of sirens cuts through the storm, acting as a warning that standard attack formations don't work around here. Heavy footsteps echo across the shaky ground as someone gears up for the incoming fight. Braving the harsh weather, the order is to tweak the tactical formation and hold strategic positioning just to stay alive. Questioning his boss's orders, a subordinate gets a straight answer. He just needs to use that weird device to track exact coordinates. Pushing his concern over the risky play, the guy asks why the ranged attackers are taking the front line, while others act as tanks, stressing the squad might get completely wiped. Brushing him off, our MC stands firm, explaining this is the absolute only way to keep casualties low, ordering full focus since the mobs are incoming. Tension spikes as the subordinates scan the dark, but one gets totally frustrated, admitting he can't see a single thing. Ignoring the co-worker's doubt, our MC spots the threat perfectly. Northwest, 43 degrees, altitude, 50. With the target locked, the order is crystal clear. They prep their long-range weapons and get ready to fire. The call is made, and with a massive boom, an energy blast slices right through the storm toward the enemies. Nailing the target with a devastating hit, the strike wraps the winged creatures in blue flames. Taking the blast head-on, the beast lets out an agonizing roar while getting shoved back by the sheer force. Everybody stares up at the sky in pure shock, realizing that precision shot just wiped out the entire flock of harpies all at once. Blown away by his coworker's almost cracked precision, a subordinate asks if that was all planned, but gets cut off by orders to stay locked in for the next wave. Flashing a confident smile in the middle of the storm, our MC keeps his guard up and promises no enemy is getting past them. After the clash, the squad falls back to base, stopping right in front of the branch manager's office door. Inside, a scream breaks down the squad's performance, showing a 98% rescue rate and an 85% civilian approval rating. Pissed at the numbers, the guy slams his fist on the desk and yells, "Damn it," completely outraged. He questions how Seoul managed to double the stats in just 1 month, figuring that's exactly why Gwangsu was backing the rookie. Eaten up by suspicion, Sokyung glares outside through the blinds, feeling like this dude is a massive problem. His frustration hits the roof seeing Chao Duhain doing physical training alongside his subordinates, something he thinks is way beneath a leader. Suddenly, it clicks for him, leaving him completely frozen in shock right by the window. Answering the phone with a creepy smirk, he claims he was already waiting for this call. On the other end, director Baek Jun-won hits manager Cha So-kyun with a calm but totally authoritative greeting. Taking a sip, Director Beck mentions he's heard the rumors about Lulingdo changing since our MC pulled up, making it clear he's worried about what that means for So-kyun's spot. The long-haired guy gets straight to the point, asking the director for a special favor to clean this mess up. The director shoots it down with a calm smile, claiming they gotta keep a low profile, even while getting taunted about Seo Yule's growing pull. Doubling down on his stance, the director says as long as our MC is only sticking around for 6 months, it's whatever. Caught off guard by the timeline, he repeats, 6 months, trying to wrap his head around the fact that this gig was supposed to be temporary. Pushing back, So-kyun warns that if our boy locks down his spot in Ulleungdo, his influence is only gonna skyrocket, no matter how long he stays. Ticked off by the director's chill attitude, he asks if their deal with Overcross is just gonna get tossed, but only gets a cold, empty response. Keeping a slick look, the director drops a low-key threat, making it obvious the guy is gonna have to deal with the fallout. Before hanging up, he orders manager So-kyun to watch his back, leaving a massive question mark over how long he'll actually keep his job. Gripping his phone tight, a dark shadow of worry hits the manager, who realizes he's basically about to lose it all. Visibly shook after the chat, he stares down his own dread, desperately wondering what his next play should be. Right in the middle of this tense vibe, the system fires off an energy alert. Feeling the pressure, So Kyun bitterly reflects that, if he wants to survive, he's got 0 choices left. Flashing a dark smirk, he stares into nothing, fully convinced this is the absolute only road left to take. A hand just tosses a phone onto the desk with 0 care, apologizing for the holdup while treating the whole thing like an annoying chore. Director Bick watches it all with a totally calm vibe that heavily contrasts with the tense room. Breaking the silence, he asks straight up, "Are you heading out to Ulleungdo too, by any chance?" Rocking a polite smile, Director Beck takes the chance to ask a personal favor, since they're both going to the exact same spot. Raika just looks at the request with a super mysterious expression. The vibe totally shifts when a guy in uniform yells for everyone's attention, saying, "Listen up." Introducing himself as Jane Jones-soo from the Martial Arts Association, he announces he's going to be today's mana manipulation instructor. The news sparks a bunch of whispers. Some mention he's Kangtae-san's disciple, while others question why they even need to learn martial arts. Wrapped up in a blue aura, Jang Gon-soo keeps a calm look as he explains he'll be teaching the Yupa technique, a core method for brushing off impacts. Raising a hammer, Jang warns he's doing a demonstration, explaining that contrary to popular belief, mana isn't just for skills, cause mastering its flow unlocks some crazy feats. No hesitation, the assistant lands a precision strike with the hammer. In an explosive move, Jang drops a massive wave of blue energy from his body, brushing off the hit with insane precision. Keeping a chill expression, the instructor looks at the students and proves you can actually block basic attacks using nothing but mana control. After flexing his mastery, he flashes a smile and dares the class to hop on stage to test the move, sparking instant chaos as students trade doubtful looks and whisper about pulling it off. A student tells his buddy that going off the master's simple breakdown, pushing the impact away, sounds pretty easy to do. Hyped up by the challenge, the guy smiles with pure determination and declares he's gonna try out the move. Trying to copy the technique, he gets caught completely off guard by the strike's force and drops to the floor, his face showing exactly how hard he just lost. Taking the cue, the instructor points straight at the floored student, warning everyone the technique isn't nearly as easy as it looks. RMC opens the floor for questions and then orders everyone to kick off their practical training right away. As the students start training, time flies by and the sky takes on orange sunset vibes. Wrapping up practice under the setting sun, Jang thanks our boy waiting for him, keeping a solid stance in front of the tactical squad nearby. Still chatting with his ally, he smiles and claims he'd show up instantly if called, mentioning the crew has been grinding hard and he made sure to fix everyone's attitude. Under the evening light, Jang thinks about the situation and vents by questioning the group's current state. He points out that Chao Duhain is built different and actually has some solid potential. Checking out the recruit's performance, he points to Han Kanmu, his main tank. Glad to see a few of them are finally showing what they're made of. And just like that, everything changed. A wild howl shatters the forest silence as wolf-like beasts with glowing eyes step out from the trees. Zhang mentions hearing wolves near the village, pointing out that having these animals in Ulongdo is super unexpected and theoretically impossible. Curious, our kid asks if the creature might actually be a monster, and his partner confirms the suspicion, stressing there were 0 official gate warnings here. Instantly, he activates his sixth sense skill. The recruits trade worried looks, and one of them, visibly confused, calls out for his boss. Empowered by his sixth sense, our boy's perception spikes to the max, leaving him completely shook by what he just picked up. Freaking out over how bad things look, Jang yells for his ally, while our MC urgently orders the squad to get the civilians to the shelter. He then screams in pure shock that they're dealing with werewolves. Suddenly, a massive claw smashes hard into the ground. A whole pack of werewolves, wrapped in a blue aura and bringing crushing pressure, steps out of the shadows with razor-sharp fangs ready for the hunt. Taking over the area, a creepy supernatural vibe sets in, with purple glows between the trees hyping up the danger surrounding the crew. With cracked speed and coordination, the werewolves push forward furiously, diving in for a claw attack. One of the beasts closes in tight, rocking a terrifying glare in its eyes. Thoughts about the protocols pop up, since the branch manager was supposed to drop the gate coordinates before a dungeon break could even happen. Locking his stance, our boy wraps his gear in a heavy electric charge, getting ready to block the pack's push. He unloads a precision strike packed with energy, clashing hard against the jumping werewolf and knocking the beast right out of the air. Clearly, RMC Gasset things escalating this far puts the entire mission at serious risk. The squad struggles to hold their ground while one guy raises a shield against the mobs, and his sniper takes a strategic spot to guard the civilians. From an electronic device, a loud beep rings out, flashing an urgent warning about a dungeon break kicking off. Watching everything coldly, the guy on the phone makes it painfully obvious that holding back the coordinates was 100% on purpose. Our boy breaks down the situation and wonders if the manager realizes sacrificing civilians just to ruin his rep is going to backfire hard, pointing out the guy is clueless. With his hand wrapped in lightning, the fighter stays locked on the threat, fully deciding to settle the score with that scumbag later. Suddenly, a fresh system notification glows bright, confirming the level 3 dungeon trait is now active. Wasting no time, our MC uses his spear to channel energy, watching a dimensional gate drop even more werewolves onto the battlefield. The system fires off an interface alert, making the monster release event officially start. Keeping his cool under the hood, the fighter orders his squad to focus their attacks on the monster's centers to put them down fast. A notification drops confirming their location. The crew just hit Ulungdo Island's second shelter, where a werewolf horde is waiting to throw down. Sunjae pops his healing skill to help out a civilian hiding in the shelter. Charging forward with glowing blue eyes and fangs out, a werewolf lets out a heavy, guttural growl. Hit by a massive impact to his gear, Han Kangmu reacts in pure shock right in the middle of the fight. Panic fully takes over the squad when Kangmu screams for Sungjae, warning that their first line of defense is completely crumbling. Instantly, Sungjae yells for the civilians to fall back fast to the second defense line. The crowd just starts sprinting away from all that absolute chaos. Giving Sungjae a heads up, Kangmu warns the enemy is pushing way too fast, suggesting they ditch this spot and find a new emergency shelter. Without the section chief leading the charge, Sungjae and his ally realize this is looking desperate, knowing that with chaos everywhere, holding the line is entirely on them now. A monstrous claw violently busts right through the wall in front of the duo, leaving one of them shook and asking if that's even possible. Locking in with a determined look, Sungjae brushes off the fear and drops a firm order, knowing there's zero time left to hesitate. Reality hits hard. Not even a section chief could hold down 4 shelters all at once, fully exposing how weak their current game plan really is. His partner reflects on the boss's sacrifice, trusting them to guard the shelters while he faced the gate's danger all by himself. Stressed out by the very real chance of dying, the ally wonders if all the grind and sacrifice up to this point were just a total waste. Keeping his cool, he stares dead at his buddy and promises he still has enough basic skills to throw down with whatever's coming next. Deep in the chaos, he remembers he only felt proud to be in the rescue department after the boss showed up, pushing him to go all out in training. An axe cuts through the air straight at the werewolves, who charge in together with deafening roars and glowing blue auras. Brushing off the danger, the fighter shifts into a new stance, staring down the enemies with pure confidence and warning them he's built different now, ready to end this. Without taking a single step back, Songjae channels lightning into his hands and firmly declares that absolutely nobody is getting past them. The fighter fires off an electrified strike right at the werewolf, who rushes in with sharp claws for a brutal head-on energy clash. Under the cover of night, the city scene sinks into a quiet tension, with dust and danger just hanging in the air. Moving scary fast, the creature charges forward. A slashing attack crosses the zone so fast it literally looks like it's tearing the air apart. Viciously, the werewolf unleashes a brutal attack, forcing the fighter to react at the very last second with a clean defensive block. Stepping out of his shadows, Rika shows up with a determined glare and her guard up, getting ready to jump into the fight. The metallic sound of a blade being drawn echoes out, signaling the start of her attack. Suddenly, something comes flying super fast right at the beast. Our boy strikes the creature right from behind. Another werewolf tries to catch him off guard, but our MC just stands perfectly still, totally locked in. Rhythmic, creepy sounds pop up as bug-like mobs with sinister eyes crawl out of the shadows and rush forward. Firing off projectiles, they nail the beast right in the back. With his eyes glowing deep blue, the werewolf channels some dark energy to launch another high-speed attack. Except before it can even pull a move, the beast gets its head completely sliced off. Rika holds her stance perfectly while the werewolf's head just rolls right across the floor. Staring intently, Rika watches the whole scene play out, keeping her cool despite the heavy tension. Our kid then asks if she's holding up alright. Instantly locking his eyes on her, he feels a cracked presence and thinks, "This person." Seeing Rika wrapped in purple flames, he recognizes her insane strength and figures she's a heavy-hitting awakened. He stays totally chill and, putting safety first, tells Rika to hit up a shelter before he takes off to handle his own business. Quickly, our MC leaps across the battlefield while Rika just watches him from the back. Faced with Rika's crazy power scaling, the fighter can't even hide his shock, sweating a bit as he thinks, a monster. Looking around the area with a worried vibe, he points out a super alarming fact. The gate is gone. A defeated beast lies completely dead on the floor, pinned down by spikes, as a voice rings out admitting the toll of the fight. "I lost some of my forces." Checking out the floored werewolf, our boy figures that even with the casualties, the final result was still a solid win. He reveals he just unlocked an S-rank skill, the Illusion Maze, which literally lets him change the area's design when activated. Locked into his game plan, he orders the allies nearby, "Now, go help the others." While everyone follows his orders, one of the werewolves lets out an agonizing howl. Instantly, our MC snaps right into combat mode. A deafening sound echoes across the island, and he reacts right away, realizing the real danger just pulled up, the boss. Sweating the situation, he knows for a fact that if his squad runs into the boss right now, it's going to be a total disaster. Without hesitation, our boy orders his teammates to split up right this second and rescue the survivors in the shelters. Moving fast, his wasps fly off to follow his command. He then pops his skill to open up a gate. Out of the deep fog steps a colossal entity, fully protected by a hardcore shell. Playing it smart, our kid summons his own beast, a terrifying wasp, to counterattack the monster. The cocoon holding this creature starts breaking open. Everything around them is just absolute chaos. Watching it all go down in pure shock, a witness covers his mouth with shaking hands, sweating bullets while staring at the wreckage. With a monumental battle raging in the background, Guangsu watches completely paralyzed, unable to look away from the fight that's putting his life on the line. Feeling the heavy tension, a deep wave of regret hits him, admitting he never should have gotten mixed up in something this cracked. Badly beaten with blood dripping from his lips, Guangsu stares at the scene in agony, fully feeling the weight of his choices. Faced with the werewolf wrapped in blue flames, he just accepts his fate, whispering to himself that this is where it all ends for him. The boss brutally wrecks the ship, making it crystal clear the beast's whole goal is to stop anyone from escaping the island. Staring down the werewolf's charge, the fighter raises his shield for one last stand, totally determined to give it his all before he drops. Nearby civilians take the chance to run for it, but the beast looks dead straight at them. Guangsu trash talks it, yelling, "Look right at me, you mangy mutt." Even though he's banged up, the fighter decides to turn the tables, popping the taunt skill and challenging the enemy. "Guess I didn't spoil you enough, huh?" Trying to buy some time, he takes the werewolf's devastating attack head-on and gets brutally slammed right into the ground. The impact is insanely heavy, leaving his face wrecked and totally consumed by physical pain. Pinned down by the monster's ruthless power, he keeps his grit, holding the line so the others can make a run for it. Feeling the piercing pain from the strike, he lets out a scream of agony, grumbling that it hurts like absolute hell. Deep down, dealing with the brutal reality of the moment, he bitterly reflects on how his whole life flipped. While guarding the survivors, he admits that if he was still his old self, he'd be hiding in a shelter right now, taking thanks from the rescued civilians. A survivor couple walks up, thanking him from the bottom of their hearts for saving their kid's life. Despite being completely drained and hurt, a satisfied smirk pops up on his face, proving he still hasn't lost his edge. Suddenly, he feels a crazy shift deep inside him while gearing up to keep fighting. A brand new feeling surges through his body like a lightning bolt, making him yell out in confusion. This is something I've literally never felt before. Charging in with pure fury again, the werewolf sends Guansu flying with another brutal strike. In a terrifying second, the beast preps for the final kill with its jaws wide open. Instantly, someone jumps in, popping an open skill as a magic seal glows bright right under their palm. Under the blinding light of the massive seal, both of them freeze in a moment of pure tension. Disoriented by that blinding flash, he squints to see what the heck is right in front of him. The impact leaves the enemy totally dazed, staring at the whole thing in pure shock and disbelief. When the dust finally settles, he wonders if he somehow just walked into a dungeon. A familiar voice echoes across the zone. Our kid steps up, clowning his ally's completely wrecked appearance. Guangsu asks if our MC actually created that dimension, but only gets a super vague answer back. Flexing his authority, he orders his partner to rest, dropping a quick chop right to the back of his neck. He instantly knocks out cold. Our boy explains he used a mix of a potion and a sedative just to make sure the guy gets some proper sleep. Staring down the colossal monster, he states he's swapping opponents and officially dismisses his subordinate. With his eyes glowing under the hood, he drops into a fighting stance and fires back. "I'll be your opponent." The werewolves clash violently, sparking a brutal duel of flying claws and fangs. Kang Mu gets shoved hard against his shield, feeling like his arms and legs are totally giving out. Meanwhile, things get super critical for Sonjae, who can barely even stand up from all the crushing pressure. One of the werewolves charges with insane fury, winding up a devastating strike. Tanking the hit, the fighter reflects that every single second of his training was just to survive this exact moment. Faced with that overwhelming strength, he sadly admits all his grinding wasn't enough. Feeling like he's about to meet his end, the air gets sliced by a violent hit that sends a shockwave rolling right across the field. Like a golden blur, Vespa pops out of nowhere and completely swats the werewolf away mid-attack. Banged up, Kang Mu watches the scene in absolute shock over the sudden save. Vespa's foot digs deep into the blood-stained dirt, while the sound of the impact literally vibrates through the air. Moving with superhuman agility, Vespa pulls its stinger back and gears up for the next move, its armor glowing bright. A massive fire explosion completely swallows their vision with a devastating flash. Vespa launches the werewolf into the scenery with such insane force it makes the whole area shake. Covered in blood, Kang Mu watches everything unfold, having zero clue how that thing just wiped the floor with the enemy so fast. Mind blown by Vespa's exotic look, he tries to wrap his head around what the heck that creature actually is. Rocking a ruthless glare, Vespa holds its stance, just waiting for the next move in dead silence. Then, the wasp quickly falls back from the zone. Dazed and bleeding, Kang Mu wonders if he's already dead since he just got saved by a monster, but the absolute silence only makes him doubt more. Cutting back to our MC's dungeon, the fight speeds up, and the werewolf, glowing in its blue aura, unloads a lightning-fast strike on our kid. He stays totally locked in, fully aware he's throwing down with a boss. Dodging with insane agility, the beast attacks and weaves through traps, showing off some crazy intelligence and sharp senses. Our boy notices his opponent is dodging the traps without triggering them, proving the creature is hyper-focused on all the danger around it. Explosively, our MC charges right through the chaos and drops a devastating attack with his spear. The werewolf feels the heavy impact and fires back with a vicious growl. Right after, a huge blast of blue and white energy swallows the scene as the fighter finishes his move. The sheer force of the impact shatters the ground, kicking up a thick dust cloud that hides how the clash ended. Growling hard, the werewolf hears our boy warn that playing it safe around traps isn't going to be enough to save him. He makes it totally clear that the traps are just one of the many deadly threats in this zone. Channeling a blazing energy into his spear, he gears up for a high-speed counterattack. With an explosive move, our MC unleashes the Dragon Flame Heartbreaker skill, wrapping his spear in fire and hitting the werewolf with absolute force. The beast lets out a roar of pain while the scorching heat melts everything around it. Absolutely bodied, the werewolf drops completely wrecked onto the ground, officially ending the fight. With the gate closed and the boss down, our MC breathes a sigh of relief, knowing he just needs to wipe out the smaller mobs. A swarm of wasps flies out of the shadows to jump the werewolves, while the fighter promises the battle is wrapping up soon. Somewhere else, loud knocks break the silence, followed by an urgent shout saying, "HQ is looking for Chao Se-yuan." Getting zero response from inside the room, the subordinates tense up and decide to bust in and see what happened. Hesitant because of the strict "do not disturb" orders, they finally agree to ignore the warnings and rush right in. A female staff member carefully opens the door, calling out for the branch manager, hoping he'll answer back. Meanwhile, the guy standing right outside lights up a cigarette. Sweating the details, the subordinate figures that since nobody died, getting the boss fired would be the best way to dead this whole problem. A desperate scream suddenly echoes through the room. Horrified, the lady screams at the manager's condition, while her co-worker rushes in completely shook, demanding to know what happened. Cutting through the heavy tension, a cold statement drops: "He's dead." The brutal fight against the werewolves dragged on all night, leaving a heavy trail of exhaustion and wreckage behind. Finally, the long battle wraps up and the dust starts settling over the battlefield. When dawn breaks and victory looks like a lock, a brand new threat puts everybody right back on high alert. Our MC's expression hardens into a serious glare, signaling that an unexpected crisis just popped up. Scanning the area, he highly doubts a werewolf pulled this off, pointing out the scene is way too clean for a beast. Questions start flying about the killer's identity, since Siko Yan was a B-rank hunter who should have easily soloed any werewolves. The surgical precision used to remove the victim's thumbs proves it wasn't a wild animal attack, but a hit from a total pro. Sung Jae notes that dropping an awakened hunter takes a level of skill and cold blood that goes way beyond just covering up tracks. Strangely, the body leaks a weird mana vibe. The boss orders the surveillance department to go into overdrive and demands his subordinate gears up right now. Flexing his authority, our boy demands the island's travelogues from the past week. Somewhere else, somebody drops a threatening tone, saying this current screw-up is only getting a pass thanks to their past solid work. The victim goes through some brutal psychological conditioning, getting forced to bury her feelings to become a totally empty tool. Reasserting his control over the girl, the patriarch orders that her absolute only purpose is to serve him. From the shadows, an authoritative voice echoes, dropping a ruthless ultimatum on Sanagi Maika that this is her very last chance. Raika jumps up, her eyes totally wide and rocking a pure look of shock. Isolated in the dim light, she just stays sitting on the floor in a deep state of shock that leaves her completely speechless. She realizes she hasn't dreamed in a long time and regrets having to revisit such a painful memory. Heavy tension just hangs right over a closed door. Inside the office, our boy talks about the Cha Sok-yeon leak, admitting the rumors were bound to blow up sooner or later. He breaks down the fallout from the ferry shutdown and wonders how angry the public is gonna get. Meanwhile, a staff member mentions the situation is locked down and everyone is super hyped about the boss's incoming promotion. Flipping the subject, the guy points out they finally have a solid suspect, and the next move is hunting him down, asking if his boss actually plans on chasing him solo. Confident, he states that tracking targets is exactly what he does best, adding that the rest of the squad is already swamped rebuilding the village. His ally then steps right out of the room. Still sitting there, he repeats that everyone is tied up with the village, but quickly figures out the real problem is something else entirely. Getting frustrated, our MC watches some dark energy fade away and wonders what kind of cracked skill could hide someone that fast. Locked onto the tracking, he thinks pulling this off requires speed, stressing that if the target realizes they're spotted, they might dip for good. Keeping his cool, our boy locks his eyes on the horizon, fully aware that even a second of hesitation could ruin all their progress. With his mind made up, he declares he's handling the hunt himself, while his wasps take off to scout the perimeter. Raika walks down the pier, staying super sharp to all the sounds around her as she gets closer to her destination. Two kids run under the blazing sun, with the boy up front begging the girl not to sprint so fast. Out of nowhere, the kid gets hit by an unexpected impact, letting out a cry of pain as he gets thrown back. Rushing over, the person who bumped him sits on the ground and apologizes while checking if he's okay. With a calm smile, the boy brushes off the pain and promises he's fine, blaming the fall on his own clumsiness. The girl keeps a subtle smile, watching the kid and admiringly commenting that he's got a lot of spirit. Suddenly, the friendly vibe turns tense when other kids show up, pointing fingers and harshly blaming the boy for the accident. Watching everything with a strange but calm look, the girl stays completely silent. In a rainy flashback, she appears holding a blade blade, reflecting on how her existence was shaped by the shadows of death since she was little. Staring with a hollow look, she tells herself that warm and kind memories just aren't part of her reality. She forces herself not to envy normal lives, knowing she'll never break free from her destiny. Deep in her isolation, a dark figure spawns as a reflection of her mind, enforcing that holding on to emotions is pointless. Wrapped in purple flames, Reika locks in on her mission, determined not to lose focus on the execution. Under the moonlight, a wasp springs into action, darting fast through the night. The creature, rocking a complex shell and red eyes, scans the area with predatory coldness. Spotting the target, the wasp hovers while Reika stays perfectly still and calculating. With a sudden jerk, Reika turns her head, catching the fast movement and gearing up for a clash. She bodies the creature with extreme speed and precision. Seeing the aftermath, Reika analyzes the beast's power signature and confirms it definitely belongs to that man. Tension spikes when a figure steps out of the shadows, staring Reika down and saying they finally crossed paths, calling her Natsume Aya. Flashing a smile, our MC admits he knows that's not her real name. She demands to know how he tracked her down so fast. Pointing right at his own eye, our boy smirks and refuses to spill the secret, claiming nothing escapes his sight. Faced with that kind of power flex, Reika stands shook and yells that it's impossible, immediately drawing her sword. But our MC just asks for a second to catch his breath after sprinting all the way there. Wasting no time, she strikes with a purple energy blade, but our boy blocks the hit with his own glowing blue weapon. The weapon clash unleashes a wave of energy and sparks, triggering a bright explosion that echoes across the zone. Holding the upper hand, he declares there are 0 escape routes, and suggests she surrenders to save them both the trouble. Suddenly, the ground beneath her feet gets corrupted by dark energy expanding like living shadows, and no one saw that coming. Our MC gets completely shook seeing his opponent vanish right into the shadows. Watching the energy fade, he finally pieces it together. That was the trick she used to hide from his radar. The very next second, Reika pops out of the shadows with a lethal downward slash, catching him totally off guard. Even facing a critical situation, Reika's inner voice pushes her to keep resisting. No hesitation, she unloads a devastating strike with her blade, forcing her opponent into a pure instinct reaction. Blessed, with crazy fast reflexes, our boy counters, dropping a massive energy wave that blows her backward. Breaking down the fight, he figures that if he forces his opponent out of the shadows, landing a hit will be a breeze. Pushed back by the blast, Reika slides across the dirt, instantly gearing up to charge in again. Her arm goes numb from his crazy strength, making her sense the danger and decide she can't waste another second. Gripping his weapon, our MC sarcastically asks if she still thinks there's a way out, and she confirms he's dead right about the situation. Determined to flip the script, she grabs a mystical shell, seeing it as her only way out. Upon activating the artifact, intense energy radiates from her spot, lighting up the whole area right in front of her enemy. The fighter dashes in at top speed with his spear, fully focused on dropping his opponent before this drags out. Hitting with devastating force, the impact sparks a shockwave that swallows the entire surrounding zone. Our MC watches his charge get completely cancelled by a tentacle wrapping around his arm and body. Right in the middle of the tension, a prompt pops up. The subjugation quest has started, marking phase 1 of 3. Faced with Reika's unexpected power spike, our boy hesitates, eyeing the mystical flute with a weird mix of curiosity about what it actually is. Darkening the vibe, colossal tentacles start rising up. Reika keeps her cool while an intense purple aura blasts from her body, fully wrapping her up right on the battlefield. Now tangled up in tentacles, our MC taunts his opponent, asking if she plans on using some freak to run away. With his eyes glowing through electric sparks, he strikes an authoritative stance and coldly orders, "Subdue this woman." A massive energy discharge focuses in the center, forming a chaotic vortex that unleashes a devastating electric boom. Answering the call, Vespa drops into the battlefield, its golden shell shining bright under a heavy electric aura. The beast charges at Reika, who stays perfectly still and on high alert. Slicing through the air with crazy agility, the creature leaves a trail of dark energy while rushing its target. Firing off orders, our boy makes sure the target doesn't get away, demanding an immediate sweep of the nearby woods. Then she flies off fast right after the target, pinned down under the creature's heavy tentacles. Our MC struggles to break free and vents about his opponent's unexpected resistance. The clash hits its absolute limit when he gets brutally launched, getting dragged right into the water. During the underwater scrap, our boy stays locked in, fiercely noting that this fight definitely wasn't part of the plan. Staring down the red-eyed creature, he sees zero way out. Intensely reacting to the command, the artifact shifts its shape to perfectly match its wielder's will, The item's evolution allows our MC to unload a precision slash on the beast. At the command Roga, the artifact's power gets unleashed, completely wrapping him in a blue aura. Pulling up the stats, the system shows Roga Wavecrest, a rare item packing high attack power, restored durability, and bonus damage against aquatic mobs. Rika steps out of the shadows, super vigilant. Using a slick move, Rika dashes across the zone while pushing straight toward her goal. A brutal impact shakes the ground as Vespa tackles her, kicking up a massive dust cloud from the clash. Stopping her push, Rika gets confused after sensing an unknown presence that snuck up completely undetected. While gearing up to strike, she eyes the creature, wondering what exactly makes it built different from normal mobs. Vespa lunges right at her, causing a blade clash that shatters the silence of the area. Not missing a single beat, the wasp goes for a direct hit. Caught off guard by the enemy's speed, Rika realizes the threat is way worse than expected, and decides prioritizing escape is the move. To break through Rika's defenses, Vespa pops its special skill, Silent Sense, fully locking in on its own perception. With the skill live, a burst of pure energy floods the field, and moving at insane speed, it nails Rika. Slayed by the high-speed strike, Rika gets dazed and questions in disbelief if that was really an assassination technique. Mind blown, she calmly watches Vespa and wonders how on earth a monster has such a refined skill to erase its presence. Closing in with pure killing intent, the wasp preps to end the fight without giving her a chance to react. Rika then grips her sword tight. Moving at blinding speed, Rika charges Vespa, wrapping her blade in purple flames and declaring, "Don't underestimate humans." Echoing across the zone, a visceral heartbeat sound signals a violent biological reaction mid-fight. Rika's hand just drops right onto the floor. Things get way worse when Rika drops to her knees, feeling an intense burning rush through her body. Crossing its arms with disgust, Vespa reveals the cause of the pain: poison. Shock and pure agony from the poison wash over Rika's face, leaving her letting out a weak sigh. Pinned down with zero strength left to fight back, Rika whispers to herself, "It's finally over." Flexing his dominance, our MC smacks the wasp right on the back of the head. He steps in with a harsh glare, scolding Vespa for trying to off the prisoner without a direct order. Our boy figures that even though feeding his beast with mobs and scumbags was highly efficient, this current mess brought some serious complications. Noticing the creature's ego is completely out of control and pushing it into a frenzy, he orders, "Vespa, stop." Faced with the trail of destruction, Rika asks in pure disbelief if he actually managed to body the Kraken. A mysterious smirk pops up on our kid's face, looking satisfied while watching the absolute chaos he just orchestrated. He keeps his cool while answering Rika with a weird smile, downplaying the whole thing and revealing he actually just decided to dip from the Kraken fight. Breaking down the clash, he admits that even though he landed a hit on the giant octopus, the underwater conditions made it a lost cause, concluding bailing was the smart play. Ignoring Vespa's condition, he locks in on bagging the priority target, fully aware he's still got 2 shots left to pull it off. Cornered and under heavy pressure, Rika keeps an unbreakable stance, declaring with a cold glare that she has zero to say even if captured. RMC watches the assassin with a calm smile, pointing out he totally expected this reaction given her hardcore training. With visible regret, he admits to himself he really didn't want to use these measures, but figures it's the absolute only way to wrap this fight up fast. The tracking system drops a critical alert on a holographic interface, warning that pheromone secretion just hit a dangerous level. Rocking a predatory smirk, our boy looks at Rika and sarcastically asks if she's finally decided to play nice. Faced with something totally beyond her understanding, her gaze locks up, looking visibly shook and questioning what kind of freak is standing in front of her. Echoing tensely through the air, the heavy, rhythmic sound of a heartbeat drops. Rika's heart races as she feels a weird energy rush through her body, confusing it for poison, until she realizes the pounding in her chest is something else entirely. In a sudden moment of clarity, Rika checks out the area calmly, breaking free from her inner chaos and feeling her mind finally hit peace. Knowing there's zero escape, Rika decides that if she has to surrender, it's gonna be to that man, even while hesitating over who he actually is. Shaking from that insane power flex, she begs for mercy, promising to spill everything she knows in exchange for a pass. She adopts a submissive stance while staring at her captor, desperately demanding he cut her loose. Catching her emotional baggage, our kid flashes a slick smile and offers a deal. If she cooperates, he'll guarantee she walks out of here. Attention shifts over to the Rodeo Palace, the massive headquarters of the Overcross Guild, where everyone's destinies are linking up. An electric buzz cuts through the silence, signaling a mechanism is about to trigger. Walking with authority down the halls, Director Beck is followed by a subordinate holding his helmet, both gearing up for what's next. As they walk, Beck hypes up the squad's success at the gate, but quickly shows concern over the dead silence from the assassin. The subordinate points out that even though the mission was a huge W, the woman hasn't made any direct contact. The director theorizes the assassin might be dead or bagged by RMC, sweating the chance of her capture. The underling fears intel leaking, but Beck stays completely stone-faced, promising there's zero to worry about. He smiles coldly, totally convinced the assassin would never spill a word, choosing to take her own life over getting interrogated. Closing his eyes, the director cuts off the thought, stating that despite her loyalty, their main problem right now is something else entirely. Stopping right in front of a screen, he locks onto the news broadcast, zooming in on the threat that actually matters. The news highlights how Seo Yule's influence is blowing up after he scored 0 casualties during the Ulan-do dungeon break. Disgusted by our boy's achievements, the director scoffs, suggesting he should have just stayed hidden living a basic life. Bringing the phone to his ear, Beck mockingly comments that his target is acting like a high-maintenance bug. Time flies by with a few days passing since the whole mess went down. Right in the middle of the tension, the focus shifts to a critical event, Sokyeon's assassination. Our MC pops up with a piercing glare, making it clear the calm after the hit is about to get shattered by his next moves. Officially, the case got closed with the culprit vanishing without a trace, leaving nothing but some branch paperwork behind. As the new interim boss, our boy moved fast to discipline the corrupt hunters and secure his squad's bonus pay. Keeping a steady gaze, he drops a direct question, fully prepped to confront whatever got tossed his way. The dark entity stays in the shadows, hyper-focused on the intel about the Tokugawa family, the clan backing the crew in front of her. Dead serious, he demands to know the exact nature of their ties to Baek Jun-won. Our MC coldly asks if that's the exact reason the assassination gig got handed to her. Rika keeps a composed stance, confirming it with a simple nod. Drumming his fingers, he admits he totally underestimated that guy's cunning, having thought he was only acting for himself. With a slick smile, our boy states Baek Jun-won is moving completely out of control. Asking about Tokugawa's endgame for the Kraken, he hears his companion answer they wanted to use it as a test subject to expand their power. Our MC wonders if they were actually planning to use the creature as a bargaining chip in international deals. He snaps out of his thoughts and scolds himself, realizing this definitely isn't the time to be zoning out. Catching how heavy the situation is, he declares the Kraken waking up puts everyone on the island in immediate danger. He turns his focus back to Rika, saying he'll help her because of their deal, but also because she hesitated when waking the monster up. Breaking the silence with a calm look, Rika shows pure gratitude for his help. Our boy highlights that even though she was just following Tokugawa's orders, that doesn't wipe away the crime she committed. He coldly declares he'll back her up, adding she's still getting a well-deserved punishment, which Rika instantly accepts without hesitation. Finally, he lays down the law, ordering her to follow his lead and put all her effort into saving as many people as possible as redemption. Rika thinks about the weight of her choices, admitting this punishment forces her to live a life totally opposite to everything she's known so far. With a tight, firm fist, she shows pure determination, confirming she fully gets the new orders. Locked in, Rika accepts the mission and declares that from here on out, she'll follow orders to save lives. Our MC watches her snap into action and, with a slight smile, comments he actually admires how fast she makes decisions. Suggesting a name change is her first step toward freedom, Rika instantly agrees without complaining at all. Someone sprints super fast down the hallway. Bursting into the room, Sunjae slams the door and calls for the interim boss, who watches the sudden entrance dead serious. He demands the boss come down right this second while our kid sarcastically asks what the heck is going on this time. And just like that, everything changed. Our MC drops his bored vibe the second he catches the urgent alert that the Kraken just showed up. Flashing on the monitor, an image reveals the Kraken spawning right near Ulan-do, forcing the government to call an emergency meeting. Tension spikes as the boss watches the news on screen, and our boy steps up, getting ready for the next phase of his game plan. Sunjae points out the Kraken news is spreading like wildfire, basically becoming the main topic out on the streets. Looking worried, our boy notes the situation went active way faster than he predicted. The kid thinks about it in pure shock, realizing the monster terrorizing the waters is actually a Kraken, something he thought was just a myth. Suspicious. Our MC wonders who actually ID'd the creature, figuring that if it wasn't the locals, the source is painfully obvious. He explains explains the organization straight up rejected the government's official request to subjugate the Kraken. The director argues the Ulingdo branch has a manager capable enough to handle it solo. Backing it up, he claims if the branch asks for backup, the organization is ready to help however they can. The chat stays tense as they question if the target is linked to Choshulkyun, which one of the guys confirms for a fact. Realizing there is still a ton of questions, our kid cuts the subject and tells them not to overcomplicate the situation. He warns that if they keep playing into the higher-ups' hands, they'll just get manipulated forever. Faced with the dilemma, our MC pitches a bold move, flat out refusing the boss's orders, ordering everyone to gear up. The kid asks what exactly they're prepping for. Straight up, he just says, hunting the Kraken. Dead silence takes over the room, with the crew needing a solid second to process what they just heard. Snapping back to reality, they all react with pure shock and outrage. Tension hits its absolute peak when Guag Sun gets called in to break up the argument. With a sparkle in his eyes and a confident smirk, our boy throws a thumbs up, declaring it's officially their time to shine. A deafening noise shatters the silence and a massive body of water violently churns, signaling the start of the clash. Below the surface, sharks start rising from the deep. Taking a brutal direct hit, one of the predators leaves a heavy trail of blood behind. The Kraken finally steps right out of the shadows, quickly snatching the shark right up with its tentacles. While slaughtering the predators, a dark memory of the man who scarred it flashes in its mind. Consumed by pure hate, the beast promises to make the guy responsible for its humiliation pay for every single wound. Using a slick move, it blasts through the rough waters, charging like a torpedo straight for the target. Suddenly, Rach senses something totally off. Getting closer, the beast gets hit by an overwhelming realization and thinks this is. Under the heavy storm, the tactical unit pushes across the rocky terrain, tanking the raging waters. Sunjae asks his partner if they're actually ready, and he replies they'll only figure that out mid-fight. Our MC laughs and tries to kill the tension, promising they've got more than enough gear for what's coming. With a smile, he guarantees the gear they brought is perfect, completely surprising his buddy. He flexes the Sea Dragon boots, which let them walk on water, and the Deep Sea Orb, making underwater breathing possible. Questioning if he bought all these items, the partner just gets a straight-up no for an answer. Our boy reveals he got a package from the Wizard Kingdom for Ian, mentioning it's his first time ever seeing a Griffon delivery. Mentioning the mage, Ian totally shocks his partner, who can barely believe what he's hearing. The scene cuts to the Wizard Kingdom, an elite guild for item crafting, while hooded figures manipulate arcane energy. That mystery fades as it reveals Ian Graham, the genius mage who pulls crazy amounts of respect. Utterly mind-blown, the ally asks if Ian's influence is actually so massive that he even crafts rescue gear. Under the pouring rain, our MC explains the delivery note, signed by a fan, just said they hoped the items would come in handy. Finding out the mystery sender just calls themselves a fan, the partner reacts in shock and asks the branch manager if he's seriously a fanboy of the mage. Annoyed and totally thrown off by the drop, he gets mad at our boy, complaining that today was supposed to be his time to shine. Trying to chill him out, our kid claims he's already doing a cracked job. Outrage takes over the ally, who pops his stench skill and fires off a salty question. In what universe does this count as shining? Keeping his smile, our MC promises he's the absolute only one who can aggro the Kraken, which is more than enough contribution. Mid-fight, he complains that even though he prefers playing it safe, the flute breaking left them zero alternatives. With the unbearable smell spreading everywhere, the buddy admits the game plan is, honestly, super gross. Our boy smiles, totally confident the Kraken won't be able to ignore that heavy taunt. Triggered by his teammates' trash talk, the guy claps back super aggressively. Still doubting the whole thing, he questions if the Kraken is actually gonna show up just from that taunt. But that doubt gets shattered when the waters churn violently, revealing something colossal is about to surface. Doubt turns into pure terror as a massive cluster of giant tentacles bursts from the water, showing off the creature's absolute fury. Completely shook, Guangsu barely manages to stutter a desperate warning about Branch, his face full of dread. Watching the colossal beast rise with destructive force, he screams for the branch manager. A sharp thud cuts right through the chaos as someone sticks a perfect landing, fully prepped for battle. Our MC jumps into the scene with a slick move, proving he definitely didn't come here to waste any time. Sliding smoothly across the ground, he stops. The warning echoes through the ranks, and the soldiers instantly lock into ready positions to face the incoming threat. Gripping his energy-charged weapon with pure determination, our boy declares, starting right now. Staring dead ahead through the pouring rain, he drops the real mission objective. We're hunting the Kraken. Towering over everyone, the Kraken fully reveals its massive size. Right in the middle of the rainy chaos, our kid orders Cha Do-hyun to fall back from the front line and assist the rest of the squad. Wrapped in a heavy electric charge, he unleashes a lightning-fast strike that slices right through the Kraken's defense. Checking the impact, he notices the beast's toughness out of the water is way higher than expected, making it super hard to cut. Stepping up, the unit leader takes charge and orders the rescue squad to attack, following the branch manager's lead to slice off the monster's tentacles. Following his orders, the crew fires off energized projectiles that streak across the sky like beams of light straight at their targets. Nailing their marks, the blast slammed directly into the Kraken's tentacles. Our boy quickly closes the distance with some slick footwork. Driving his blade deep into the creature, he yells that this is the perfect moment to wrap the fight up. Mocking the enemy, he completely ignores how terrifying it looks, yelling he doesn't care if it's a Kraken or whatever else. Relentless, he claims that at the end of the day, his opponent is just an oversized octopus. Keeping his focus sharp, he's totally determined to chop off those annoying tentacles once and for all. Our MC seals the monster's fate, promising there's absolutely zero way out for it. Crashing with overwhelming force, the water gets lit up by the heavy storm's lightning strikes. Spotting a vital weak point, the fighter realizes that landing a hit on the head is the key to winning. That goal becomes possible when the creature's head emerges, showing off its horrifying shape right in the middle of the chaos. Seeing the opening, he yells for his squad to aim for the head before the beast sinks back to the bottom. Finding it super weird that the opening was so easy, our kid wonders why the creature would pull such a reckless move. Then the Kraken clearly starts charging up a long-range attack. In a panic, our boy orders the squad to prioritize their defense right this second. The beast fires off a massive ink projectile. Taking back control of the fight, the Kraken unloads a barrage of shots. Our MC yells for his allies to watch their backs. An agonizing scream rings out from one of the teammates. Pure pain takes over as he realizes his leg is badly injured, while another ally rushes over to check on him. Desperately, one of the guys calls for a healer, and another jumps in fast to help out. The vibe gets way darker as a cold voice states, without skipping a beat, that multiple casualties are already confirmed. Moving frantically, our boy knows time is running out against the creature's heavy push. The Kraken throws a quick attack, completely ignoring our kid's advance. Catching onto the attack pattern, he screams in shock. It's literally targeting the injured ones first. The next strike heads straight for one of the wounded allies. Wasting no time, Kong-woo launches himself forward with a high-speed dash right to the impact zone. Rocking pure determination, he declares he finally found someone he can trust, throwing up a shield to block the hit for his crew. Gritting his teeth in pain, he desperately screams for the branch manager. A firm voice echoes across the field calling out, "Even if you didn't say that." Our kid rushes the beast, which glares right back with glowing red eyes, cutting the sentence short. "I already know." Jumping into action, he launches himself right at the Kraken. Absolute chaos takes over as a desperate scream echoes through the area, calling out for Yoon Sung-jae. Right at that moment, Reika pops out from near the tentacle. Using her sword like a springboard, she boosts our MC higher. Mid-air, he spins with crazy agility, diving straight toward his target with a dead serious glare. Caught totally off guard, the Kraken hears a sinister threat. "Even if you try to hide right now." Nailing a precision strike, he buries his trident into the beast and coldly declares it's way too late to change fate. The beast lets out an agonizing, deafening roar. Standing in the rain, our boy adjusts his gear and drops a direct taunt. "Hey, octopus." Stepping closer, he hits the monster with a challenging glare and asks if it recognizes his face. Its red eyes blazing with pure fury, the creature fires back in a dark voice. "You are the one who summoned me." Consumed by deep hate, the beast makes a terrifying promise. This time, it absolutely won't fail to end him. The massive beast grabs our MC and drags him straight to the bottom of the ocean. The brutal impact violently shakes the ocean, kicking up massive waves that crash during the relentless storm. Down in the whirlpool, the creature twists its massive tentacles and launches a brutal attack, fully controlling its aquatic turf. Underwater, our boy figures even an octopus remembers who smacked it, realizing the beast dragged him down here to settle the score. Still holding his breath, he keeps a slick smile and accepts the challenge, thinking, "Works for me." Exhaustion completely drains the squad, pushing them to their absolute limit, with death creeping right around the corner. Our kid milks the underwater advantage using his deep sea orb, meaning he doesn't need to breathe, giving him the upper hand. Using the isolation, he unleashes his energy, sparking a massive mana explosion that electrifies all the water around them. Fully wrapped in electric sparks, our MC stays locked in and declares he can finally go all out. Dashing right at the creature, it glares back with glowing red eyes while its dark tentacles thrash under the heavy pressure. Rushing in with his trident, he spots a brand new threat. A weird ink laser blasts across the battlefield. Checking the underwater terrain, he realizes that even with his buffs, he's still in the Kraken's turf, making dodging that laser super tough. Mid-clash, he analyzes the attack spam, figuring he's gotta chop off some tentacles to get his mobility back. Faced with the monster's charge, he fires off a precision strike and says it's definitely not the time to sweat the small stuff. Charging up his energy, he forms a powerful sphere right between his hands, declaring that bagging this W is the only thing that matters. The Kraken suddenly starts getting sucked straight into our kid's portal, acting like a literal black hole. The built-up energy violently warps the water with an insane gravitational pull. Wasting zero time, our boy rushes forward to jump right into. Staying locked in, he dives straight into the vortex, while tons of water get dragged down into the abyss. With a sharp move, he snaps his fingers, wrapping up his attack setup. Right then, a holographic window confirms the Claws of Atlas trap just went live. With the trap doing its job, the fighter drops a devastating blow, sparking a massive shockwave. Shards of energy fly everywhere from the hit, while the bleeding creature desperately tries to pull away from the trap's pull. The scrap gets absolutely brutal as the beast wrecks the floor, but our fighter stands his ground, totally unfazed by the charge. The system drops a critical alert. The dungeon is collapsing and its durability just hit 97%. Glancing at the screen, our boy notices the zone breaking down fast and figures he's got to wrap this fight up immediately. Checking the damage, he's relieved to see only a few tentacles are left, and the beast is already heavily banged up. Flashing a cold smirk, our kid calls out the monster for round 2, totally confident he's bagging the win. Dashing super fast through the air, he grips his trident tight, ready to drop the final blow on the creature. Right before the attack connects, Vespa pops up out of nowhere to block the hit. His eyes glow super bright as he flexes his authority, making it crystal clear he completely owns this fight now. Locked in with pure determination, our boy acknowledges how serious things are, knowing every single second counts to end this clash. Surrounded by total darkness and electric sparks, Se-Yul dashes in like a blur, gripping his high-tech trident to strike a nearly invisible enemy. He lands a direct hit that instantly forces his opponent to stagger back from the heavy impact. Panning into the enemy's face, it shows a dead serious glare of someone who's done playing games and is about to flip the script. Aware that the clock is ticking, our kid stays laser-focused, handling the situation with some terrifyingly cold composure. Slicing right through the water barrier, the strike creates a massive vacuum, sucking everything in like a literal black hole. Giant tentacles shoot out of the abyss trying to snag him, but he just ignores the threat, keeping up the heavy pressure with his glowing weapon. Rocking armored boots, Se-Yul kicks through the water so hard he sparks a shockwave, literally forcing the environment to collapse. With his yellow eyes glowing from under his hood, our boy charges in, focusing every drop of energy to end this fight. The wasp creature goes for a lethal dive bomb, trying to impale the kid with its razor-sharp blades, but our hero counters with a crushing strike, swatting the beast midair and violently launching it backward. An overwhelming blast of energy cuts through the water and nails the spider-like beast, making the whole area vibrate from the impact. A bunch of insectoid mobs swarm straight at Se-Yul, who doesn't even flinch, casually prepping to deflect the whole wave. System alerts warn the dungeon is highly unstable, sitting at 69% durability with 16 mobs left. He's gotta act fast before the maze caves in. Raining attacks completely box the fighter in, but he counters every single one with surgical precision right in the middle of the chaos. Sweating the dungeon's status, our kid realizes all the collateral damage from the monsters is completely ruining the zone's durability. A holographic warning flashes an immediate threat, while Se-Yul engages in a brutal head-on clash, blocking a mob just before the whole place collapses. Desperate to save the structure, he really needs to clean this mess up before the whole ceiling drops on them. Feeling the heavy pressure, our boy slices through the water with a clean strike to face the beast blocking his objective. Completely locked in, the fighter keeps his guard up, scanning the terrain while waiting for the absolute perfect opening to counter. Gripping his glowing weapon, he rushes the bizarre creature, charging up a light slash to wipe out the threat before the map gets destroyed. Flexing crazy fast reflexes and pure determination, our kid just lets his blades slice through absolutely everything in his path. Going for a brutal dive, our hero drops with his full weight, driving his glowing weapon deep into one of those colossal tentacles. smashing his gauntlet into the ground. The impact sparks a shockwave that shakes the entire zone, officially breaking the monster's defense. He wraps the combo up by popping the Dragon King's Decapitation Wave skill, completely pulverizing whatever defense was left. Sticking his balance perfectly, Xiao rides the strike's momentum, spinning his whole body to keep up the relentless pressure on the enemy. Despite being totally drained, Xiao stays hyper-focused to hold the line and lock down this W. The vibe suddenly shifts and our boy feels a massive spike in energy, realizing something way worse is about to drop. Completely frozen by some invisible force, our kid locks up mid-attack, like time literally just stopped. Instead of freaking out, the guy just flashes a sarcastic smirk, proving this little stunt to stop him isn't gonna work at all. Vespa suddenly shifts into its humanoid form, dropping to its knees in the water and panting hard. Gasping, the beast mentions those attacks finally did some real damage. Taunting the monster, our kid asks if Vespa's poison was actually enough to leave him that messed up. Beating with supernatural force, the creature's heart pulses loud, proving the real nightmare is just kicking off. Glowing bright red, Vespa's heart reacts to the sudden, agonizing pain that even the monster can't figure out. Fully panicking, the creature starts suffocating, desperately struggling to survive the overwhelming, crushing pressure. Gasping for life, it chokes while the surrounding water turns into a deadly, oxygen-drained trap. Glowing energy claws rip right through the creature's body, completely bypassing its armor to shred the monster's actual core. The backline crew scrambles to keep things under control, lighting up the zone with healing and sealing spells to prove they're doing their part. One of the healers asks if the boss can actually handle the heat, but instantly gets told his raw stats are more than enough. Mentioning how the Kraken gets a massive stat buff in the water, the squad decides playing it super safe is the only move right now. Hanging back, the support team decides to just watch from a distance, refusing to dive into the exact spot where the enemy is most cracked. Out of nowhere, a loud boom leaves the backline trio completely shook as they spot something crazy happening in the water. The brutal impact kicks up a monumental wave, fully exposing the colossal silhouette of the red-eyed abyssal beast. Freaking out, one of the healers wonders if the branch manager could actually tank a direct hit from the Kraken. Desperately, a squad member screams for everyone to pop their shields to block the devastating attack coming their way. Erupting from the deep, massive tentacles blast dark energy that melts right through the squad shields like they're literally made of paper. The whole area caves in, sending thick dust and heavy debris flying everywhere. Looking at the absolute disaster, a survivor just can't believe the village got completely flattened by the enemy's insane power. Stepping up to grab the sea monster's aggro, the squad leader orders the snipers to hyper-focus on its weak spots. Right at peak tension, the healer spots a familiar face stepping out of the chaos. The branch manager pulls up as the ultimate trump card to fight the Kraken. Stepping out of the shadows like a total boss, Soyul scans the scene fully locked in. He definitely didn't come to play, and is ready to flip the script on this beast. Completely drained, our hero admits his mana pool is basically empty, his hands shaking as he readies his final remaining skills. Channeling every last drop of power into one final strike, the kid knows he absolutely can't miss. It's his last shot at changing the outcome of this fight. Feeling the poison sap his strength, he glares dead at the opponent and drops a heavy warning. Anyone who crosses his path is gonna meet a tragic end. Unleashing pure fury, our boy drops from the sky like a blue meteor, screaming for the monster to just accept its death. And that's where it gets crazy. Everyone is left shook, seeing those giant red eyes glowing in the dark, proving the creature just fully woke up for the final showdown. That blue flash nails the Kraken with devastating force, tearing through the air like a lightning bolt to permanently seal the beast's fate. Flashing a competent smirk, Xiao confirms his game plan worked perfectly to shut down the attack. Getting frustrated when his hit doesn't shatter its defense, our hero realizes there are 0 second chances. He either drops the monster right now, or the nightmare continues. Pushing through the burning muscle pain, our kid lets out a roar, channeling whatever energy he has left into one desperate strike against the beast's insane defense. Freaking out, one of the soldiers warns that the shockwave won't just hit the rescue squad, it's gonna wipe out everyone on Ulando Island. Desperate to keep things from completely falling apart, Xiao grits his teeth, holding back the incoming threat with every last ounce of strength he has. Consumed by pure fury, our kid screams, blasting a massive electric aura that could literally disintegrate everything around him. Sparks fly everywhere upon impact as our boy finally lands the kill shot, completely wiping the threat right off the island. A monumental explosion makes the ground violently shake, leaving everybody frozen in shock at the absolute destruction they just witnessed. A glowing blue notification drops on the screen. Mission cleared. The Kraken has been officially defeated. Completely drained, Xiao watches the Kraken's colossal body literally finally break apart after taking his massive electric blast. With the beast finally wiped, he hops right out of the water, leaving nothing behind but the chaotic aftermath of the fight. His squad watches, jaw dropped. Their hero just soloed a kraken, but the panic quickly shifts back to the branch manager's critical condition. Thick, dark clouds cover the sky, hinting that this nightmare might be far from over. Playing off the absolute chaos, So-Yul casually steps out of the water looking super chill, acting like he barely broke a sweat. Locking in on his boss's critical state, our kid instantly asks if the branch manager is even still conscious. Skipping all the drama, he waves off the medics and orders the squad to prioritize helping the injured villagers instead. Keeping it cool and completely fearless, our boy catches a weird buzzing sound and looks around, trying to figure out who's pulling up. The loud buzzing of drone propellers reveals a news crew desperately trying to film the aftermath of the massive fight. Having absolutely zero patience for the media, So-Yul just ignores the annoying buzz and waves the whole thing off. A system warning drops, the dungeon's durability just dipped below 60%, and the whole thing is caving in. Our boy feels a sting of regret for failing to save his map. Reflecting on how he's basically an architect with zero property now, So-Yul sighs to himself, totally annoyed by this whole ridiculous situation. Except, a brand new notification pops up right after, leaving our kid completely lost. The prompt breaks down that within the system's hierarchy, every dungeon architect has the ability to build their own structures totally from scratch. The system tosses him a hidden quest called Legacy of a Forgotten Civilization, promising insane loot, but with a massive penalty of losing everything if he fails. The holographic screen glows bright, just waiting for our kid to accept or reject this crazy gamble. Flashing a slight smirk and feeling his confidence spike, our boy accepts the challenge, the adrenaline fully kicking in, locking in with pure determination. He stares down his fate, proving he isn't backing down from this crazy challenge. Meanwhile, the internet is blowing up with everybody hyped up to see what So-Yul is gonna pull off next. Massive skyscrapers gleam under the sun, hinting that the city is about to be ground zero for some crazy new drama. Literally nobody is talking about anything else online. MKS News just dropped footage of the Kraken getting absolutely bodied in Uliundo. Experts are hyping up So-Yul as the absolute MVP of the raid, while the media can't stop praising how effective the agency was. The vibe inside the building gets super tense when a random object gets violently smashed against the wall. Things totally spiral out of control. The director completely loses it over a suspected rat in the crew, while his subordinate desperately tries to calm him down. The director is radiating pure rage, rocking a hardened glare that looks like he's about to explode at any second. Getting choked out by the director, the subordinate gasps for air, completely caught off guard by the sudden violent outburst. Dangling by his neck, the desperate subordinate begs for his life, trapped as the victim of his boss's insane fury. Completely losing his mind, the director screams that an S-rank rat is a massive threat to the guild's entire reputation. Stepping in completely chill, So-Yul drops the real talk about a new national authority popping up, making sure everyone knows the raid was a huge team effort, not just a solo carry. After all that internal drama, the scene cuts back to the building's exterior, where the peaceful vibe totally hides the absolute chaos going on inside. With the ocean threat finally wiped out, the locals flood the administration building with tons of gifts and supplies to say thanks. So-Yul is genuinely surprised by how chill the locals are, bouncing back from such a massive disaster to give off a super peaceful vibe. Feeling proud, our hero flashes a genuine smile, knowing his grind on the rescue squad actually made a massive difference for these people. With the town finally at peace, everyone celebrates the end of the nightmare, while our hero just chills at the party, snacking on a skewer and taking it all in. Taking in the chill vibes, So-Yul watches everyone get back to their normal routines after the insane mess they just survived. Someone steps out of the shadows, dropping a cryptic invite asking if he wants to just stand there or actually go explore the island right now. Our kid turns it down, saying he's partied way too hard already and desperately needs some sleep before getting back on the grind tomorrow. Yoon Se-yeon calls out his chill attitude, asking why he didn't just dip from this dangerous zone when he actually had the chance. Dead serious, she explains her reason for sticking around is tied to a promise, hinting there's still unfinished business to handle. Our kid keeps it 100% real, declaring his new game plan is to get as cracked as her so he can actually earn his freedom. Fully aware the grind is going to be brutal, our boy stays locked in, staring out into the dark horizon. She drops the cold truth right to his face. That kind of freedom is super expensive, and his journey is going to be an absolute nightmare. Wrapping up, she states that success literally just comes down to his ability to tank the heat and never quit. Our kid doubles down on his commitment, fully accepting their alliance to honor the pact they just made. The vibe gets heavy and So-Yul glares right at her, locking in how serious this deal really is. She breaks the ice, thanking him with a smile that looks like it's hiding a ton of secrets. Snapping back to reality, our boy complains about the early morning paperwork he has to face, since being OP still means dealing with forms. Panic hits him when he remembers he's racing against the clock to handle his unfinished business in the maze. Riding the trust wave, Seo-yu asks if Seo-yun actually mastered those assassination skills, and she confirms she inherited almost everything. Flashing a sarcastic smirk, our kid asks if she's really all that. Shooting her an intimidating glare, he challenges the girl to prove her worth by doing him a favor right out the gate. Daylight starts breaking, promising a totally chaotic morning for our MC. A loud boom shatters the silence, something just slammed into the building with absolute force. Ignoring the chaos outside, the guy demands our boy wrap up that paperwork right this second. Flexing his authority, the guy reminds him about the afternoon meeting and threatens to punish him if he bails again. Rocking his glowing yellow eyes, our kid mocks him, warning that all this paperwork is just gonna fall back on the guy anyway. Things heat up when the sound of a turning lock reveals somebody just walked in, uninvited. Yoon Se-yeon steps in, totally shook seeing the massive stack of papers, finally getting that Se-yul is stalling the bureaucracy while he handles the real problems outside. She lets out a heavy sigh, completely over all the annoying office stalling. Yoon Se-yeon drops a savage comment about the absurd amount of work our boy has to chew through. Getting stuck with the heavy lifting, she vents about the massive burden he just dumped on her. Brushing off the drama, our kid shuts the chat down, since his priorities are completely different and survival is the only focus. Right after that, our hero steps into a portal heading to the abandoned city of Ether, where a lone tower is waiting in a fiery landscape. The second he crosses the portal, the system gives a heads up. Phase 1 is finding a moonstone in under 2 hours. Standing right in front of a tower, Seo-yul checks the data, fully prepped for this time challenge. Hitting the exact spot, he confirms he definitely made it to the right destination. Checking out the moonstone, he gets super suspicious. The item is way too exposed and totally looks like a trap. Even though it feels off, he figures this first phase is probably just some basic tutorial stuff. Popping his skills, magic energy wraps around his hands as a glowing seal pops up, ready to crack the mystery. Channeling his willpower, our kid's yellow eyes glow bright as he gears up to face the trap. The ground violently shakes and a giant stone golem wakes up, blasting electric sparks and trying to crush him flat. Pulling his weapon out with a laugh, the young guy already knew this test wasn't going to be a walk in the park. The golem slams hard into the floor, kicking up a massive dust cloud while the building's framework groans. Faced with that pure brutality, our hero decides he isn't backing down a single inch. Locked in for the fight, he readies his weapon with a sarcastic smirk, knowing handling meatheads is exactly his specialty. Firing off a violent blue energy wave, the golem turns the whole battlefield into absolute chaos. With his eyes shining a bright yellow, our hero promises he's going to end this fight in a flash. Over in Yeongdeungpo, Seoul, a creepy dimensional rift spawns right above the buildings, massively spiking the tension. Under the pouring rain, a truck sits parked near some warning signs, hinting that something seriously sketchy is going down. Inside the cab, a guy suggests grabbing some coffee, but his partner points out there's literally nothing around in the middle of nowhere. Trying to talk himself into taking a walk through the park, the guy freezes up, completely shook by what he spots. Curious, the guard asks his buddy if he caught any weird movement over by the gate. Braving the heavy storm, a hooded figure checks out the entrance and spots a double-layered barrier that looks super tough to crack. Scanning the magic barrier, the guy reflects on how the security used to be top tier, but now it's basically just a decorative piece. Standing right in front of the shield, the man pulls out a high-tech sphere, glowing red, officially kicking off the invasion. Flashing a confident smile, he drops the artifact onto the ground, proving that wrecking this defense is way easier than anyone thought. The second the item hits the floor, a massive energy explosion swallows everything, signaling the barrier is getting completely vaporized. Shockwaves ripple out as the barrier crumbles, paving the exact path the guy needs to keep his game plan moving. Chaotic energy violently warps the space and an unstable portal tears open, proving the barrier got totally disabled. Clowning the local security, he mocks how weak the country actually is for not even being able to hold down a low-rank gate. Completely ignoring the wreckage, he fixes his hood and calls his crew to push forward to their next objective. Sticking a landing, the guy drops a warning that, starting right now, everything is going to change for his enemies. Wrapped in a purple aura, he walks right through the portal, leaving the chaos behind while plotting his next move. Surrounded by his hooded crew, he shoots a smirk, announcing the treasure hunt has officially begun. Meanwhile, on the second floor of the Tower of Antiquity, the heavy vibe of the place really sets in. The massive golem tries to crush Seo-yul with a heavy punch, forcing our kid to use all his speed just to dodge it. The impact sparks a violent shockwave, but the young guy barely dodges it, keeping his focus fully locked. Flames erupt around his weapon, proving he's absolutely not playing games and is about to body this golem. With literal fire in his eyes, Yule stares down the danger and gears up to counterattack with pure fury. He fires off a massive energy blast, popping the Crimson Lotus skill to completely incinerate the whole room right at the golem. Nailing a direct hit, the golem instantly starts breaking apart, proving the Eternity Clay couldn't tank the heavy damage. A holographic notification confirms the W while he sticks a solid landing right on top of the rubble. Taking a deep breath, our hero complains that even though it was fast, there are still a few annoying complications left. Glancing at the screen, he notices a whole day has already passed since he entered the tower and thinks about the crazy challenges still ahead. Looking worried, Yule admits that even though he trusts his squad, being away from them definitely keeps him on edge. Locked onto the screen, he keeps a dead serious expression, trying to keep his emotions in check under all this pressure. Letting out a sigh, our kid reflects on how overthinking weighs him down just as much as the monsters, wondering what fate actually has in store. Refusing to freak out, Yule pushes all the doubt aside and strictly focuses on the tower's next challenge. Deep in the forest, a purple portal tears open and a trio of mysterious figures walk straight toward the anomaly. Everybody gets completely shook noticing an illegal dungeon invasion, something nobody saw coming. Tensing up, the guy orders over the radio to hit up HQ immediately about the breach. A soldier senses pure danger when a cold blade presses against his neck as a shadow pops out of nowhere to pin him down. Flashing a smirk, the invader mocks him, saying the fun was just getting started and absolutely nobody is gonna ruin the vibe. The masked figure warns the soldier that leaking any intel about their game plan is totally off the table here. Spotting a black skull tattoo on the invader's skin, the soldier realizes it's a dead giveaway connecting them to a sinister organization. Catching onto the trap, the soldier reacts with pure disgust, calling the crew a bunch of useless scumbags who live off exploiting people. Revealing her true identity, scavenger Elena Bellegarde steps out with a manic glare, flexing her ID tattoo. The Scavengers are one of the most cracked criminal groups in the world, globally banned for pulling off some absolutely brutal stuff. Keeping his nerve, the soldier talks trash about the organization's rep, claiming they only operate in the shadows of far-off countries. Ignoring the trash talk, Elena presses the blade harder against his throat, warning that even though they avoid scandals, her crew needs the bag and won't hesitate to drop him. Elena completely writes off the local administration, treating them all like absolute trash who don't deserve an ounce of respect. Doubling down on her disgust, she makes it crystal clear that the soldier's opinion is completely worthless. Wasting zero time, she spots a dimensional rift on the monitor and drops a heavy threat on whoever is waiting on the other side. Locked onto the blue screen, a figure hits up Elena to confirm the dirty work is officially a wrap. Edgar Myers, the hooded hacker, pops up on screen asking if the capture was actually a success. Taking the floor, he completely clowns the guild for almost losing to a basic minotaur. Full of disrespect, the guy claims he fixed the whole problem by just incinerating absolutely everything in his path. Asking about the target, he mocks the guild's terrible luck since the guy decided to take a vacation at the absolute worst time. Elena sarcastically comments on the hero's VIP lifestyle while trying to figure out if it's time to just bail. Cutting the jokes, Edgar demands they stick to the original game plan exactly as discussed. No stalling allowed. Creepy shadows stretch down the hallway as Edgar orders the crew to stay completely locked in. Blindingly fast moves go down and the target gets ambushed by tech that completely muzzles him, shutting down any chance of fighting back. Bruno Callista and Ricardo Moreno step right out of the shadows, fully prepped to hunt down the target's exact location. Keeping the comms open with HQ, the hacker promises to drop the coordinates the second he gets a lock, asking what to do with the admin crew. Edgar Myers warns that the Vanguard's power is totally useless, and wiping out the risk right now is the only solid move. Completely shook, the target catches the brutal order to body his opponents without leaving a single trace. Coldly cutting the chat, Edgar Myers logs off while the tracker glows bright, making it obvious there's zero turning back now. Showing absolutely no mercy, the captor swears the failure is entirely the target's fault, who literally has nowhere left to run. A sharp thud echoes out as a mysterious arm pops out of nowhere, completely pinning down the target who was about to get tossed. The hooded attacker grabs the target right by the neck, proving his overwhelming technical superiority as an absolute death sentence. Gasping for air, the target spits blood and desperately screams out for his boss. With a precision stomp, the attacker completely crushes the tracker, wiping out any chance of sending a signal. The attacker pushes forward and buries his blade deep into the opponent, leaving him zero way to escape. In full panic mode, the remaining goons realize they're completely outmatched and scramble to run away from the fight. Realizing it's all over, the target just accepts defeat and stares death right in the face. Desperate to keep the intel from leaking, the soldier tries to fire off a warning to base before bolting. Elena flashes a manic smile, totally soaking up the chaos while gearing up for her next move. With her eyes glowing an electric color, Elena dashes in to pin the soldier down. Feeling the heavy sting of the impact, the soldier growls in pure frustration while trying to keep himself together. Moving scary fast, Elena locks the guy's arms up right before he can even throw a strike. The girl mocks him straight up, warning him he took way too long to make a move. Elena Bellegarde doesn't even flinch at the dirty trick, and points out he forgot one massively important detail. The man shoots back a sarcastic smile, taunting Elena Bellegarde before anything else even pops off. Completely cornered, the soldier panics and tries to save his own skin by smashing a hidden button under the desk. The electronic device triggers a blaring emergency alarm. The system fully shorts out, making the whole place vibrate from the heavy overload noise. With zero options left, the guy throws in the towel, flat out admitting he lost. Mocking him, Elena Bellegarde slams the guy's head right into the floor and drops a super sarcastic, "Good for you." Holding her blade right to his face, Elena Bellegarde asks if he's got any final regrets before he checks out. Creepy shadows and screeching sounds basically announce it's game over for the hacker. The colossal door swings wide open, and Seo Yul walks right into the unknown, fully prepped for the 10th trial. The massive gates slowly shift apart, revealing the brand new path for our MC. Stepping into the main hall under a super tense vibe, our hero instantly feels how brutal this 10th trial is gonna be. Our kid drops a sarcastic comment about his rival's dramatic pose, making it crystal clear he isn't impressed by the theatrics at all. After scanning the whole room, the young guy locks onto the lone figure just waiting for him. Rocking glowing red eyes and pure bloodlust, the opponent hates getting called a boss and violently fires back at the taunt. From right under that red mask, the enemy flexes an aura so freezing cold it literally steals the breath from anyone nearby. Holding his stance, the opponent shuts the small talk down and claims he's just the guardian of the maze. Sick of all the talking, the guardian channels some dark energy and orders our kid to step up and fight. Rocking silver hair and a totally dead stare, the guardian demands the kid prove what he's actually made of. A holographic screen pops up right in front of our MC. The objective is to body the Incubus King, Karan Bellator. Karan Bellator smirks, taunting our hero that the moment of truth is finally here. Gripping his weapon with his eyes glowing bright, the young guy knows it's officially time to end this. Through the heavy rain, Amal's facade shines bright into the night, even with a massive crowd chilling nearby. A group of dark cloaks pops up inside the mall, aggressively hunting down a specific target. Monitoring the whole setup, the crew checks the pharmacy logs to confirm their target constantly hits this exact spot. Getting super impatient, the scavengers argue about whether the target will even show up, until one just tells the other to shut his mouth. Super annoyed, one of the goons talks trash about the target's hyped-up rep as an absolute killing machine. Elena Bellegarde stares the guy down with a manic smile and completely clowns his so-called reputation. Elena Bellegarde's goons lose their patience and demand everyone stay focused since the guild is pulling up soon. Looking at the tied-up soldier in the room, the goons question why Elena Bellegarde is even keeping him breathing. The walls start closing in, and the hooded figure demands they speed things up, while Elena Bellegarde confirms they're in a total rush. Two scavengers, flexing some creepy dark energy, completely lock down the perimeter. While the chaos brews, people casually stroll through a futuristic spot right under a skyrocketing a massive planetary ring. The two scavengers scope out the zone, spotting 10 random people totally clueless about the danger, and just hope the target is hiding in that crowd. They debate if they can actually wipe everyone out, but quickly figure it's impossible without making a massive scene and bringing unwanted heat. Tired of stalling, they decide to totally ignore playing it safe and handle things their own brutal way. A heavy metallic crash echoes out as a pillar with chandeliers gets completely wrecked. The scavengers just kicked off the assault. Energy blasts slice right through the air with insane force, escalating the clash until pure chaos completely takes over the spot. Karan Bellator pops his Abyss of Darkness skill, and a sphere of dark energy instantly spawns in his hand. He fires the blast with deadly precision, nailing the target head-on and sending a massive boom echoing across the whole zone. Rocking a mocking glare, Karan Bellator twists the energy into spectral claws, fully prepped to annihilate absolutely everything. Seo Yul watches the scene completely tense, his yellow eyes glowing under the hood as he realizes how insanely lethal that energy really is. Catching that brutal attack, our boy's eyes eyes go wide as he wonders if that's all just some kind of illusion. But after tanking a heavy hit, he feels it in his bones that this is 100% real and the danger is massive. Knowing that holding back is just gonna drain him completely, our hero decides to dump absolutely everything into one desperate attack. Laser focused on wrapping up this fight fast, Yahello channels every last drop of his energy right at the colossal opponent. Gritting his teeth, he lets out a roar and unloads the strike, clashing in a blinding flash of pure electricity. Right in the middle of the chaos, our hero blasts an energy beam that completely blinds everyone, while the enemy tries desperately to tank the heavy hit. In pure desperation, the opponent screams with blood pouring from his mouth, proving he just hit his absolute limit against the hero's attack. When the dust finally settles, a notification pops up for Yahello. The challenge was officially cleared. Drops of blood splatter onto the floor, leaving a heavy trail from that absolutely brutal clash. Completely drained, our kid keeps his guard up while reading the message praising his crazy effort in the fight. With the smoke clearing out and the silence creeping back in, it's crystal clear the battle is finally over. With an exhausted and blood-stained face, Karhan Belater announces he just carried out his very last order. Reflecting on the heavy wreckage, he questions the true nature of this spot, packed with so many dark secrets. Karjan Belater sarcastically comments on the destruction, claiming it's literally nothing compared to what the Beast of the End would pull off. He doesn't even flinch at the tragedy, treating the massive wreckage like it's just some irrelevant news headline. Milking the moment, Karhan Belater warns our kid that the entity doesn't just spawn in one specific spot, it can literally pop up anywhere. Rocking a completely cold look, he doubles down that absolutely nobody is safe from this threat that just wants to consume everything. Our boy stares up at the sky, watching reality literally look like it's cracking while trying to process that terrifying warning. Not fully grasping how heavy that actually is, Yahello just locks the warning in his memory so he never gets caught lacking. Heavy impacts shake the entire zone, and our hero, fully geared up, watches the colossal energy violently rattle the ground. And that's where it gets crazy. An item glows bright on the altar, it's the labyrinth heart, and a screen confirms he just bagged the artifact that's gonna totally flip his journey. Arcane knowledge instantly floods his mind, completely downloading the techniques he needs to actually shape the maze. Locked onto the energy, Yahello realizes the labyrinth heart is the ultimate key to totally hijacking this place's system. He pieces together the maze's map in his head like a literal puzzle, burning every single detail into his memory. Floating right between arcane geometry, our kid feels the maze's energy perfectly fusing into his body and his magic system. The journey hits a massive turning point, leaving our MC feeling like all his insane grinding finally paid off big time. Suddenly, the massive monitor screen lights up with a blinding white flash, totally shattering the room's silence. A heavy alert drops on screen. Terrorists just hijacked the telekinesis system, calling all hunters straight to the containment zone. Yoon Se-yeon stares at the monitor looking super worried, knowing this breach forces her to ditch her plans just to handle the crisis. She clears up that her stand-in power only copies the visuals, without actually stealing the target's skills or willpower. Yoon So-yoon glares at the screen super tense, wondering if she really has to dive into this insanely risky mission. She feels an entity surge blasting right off the screen as a purple electric barrier suddenly spawns nearby. So-yoon notices Yoon Se-yoon is totally shook by the purple energy and asks why she's freaking out so hard. Letting out a massive sigh of relief, Yoon Se-yeon sits there shook, realizing that crushing pressure finally vanished. Bright lights illuminate the colossal building at night, showing the tension inside the high-tech complex is absolutely maxed out. A silver-haired figure pops up, super annoyed by the wait, and demands to know why Yahello took so long. Yahello casually pops out of nowhere, completely jump-scaring the girl. Our guy loses his patience with her erratic vibe and demands she act right, but she just mocks him, claiming this unhinged behavior is her totally normal state. The other hunters stop in their tracks and start whispering about our boy, trying to figure out if he's actually the legendary Kraken Slayer. The girl tagging along with our hero totally milks his fame, offering to personally guide him straight to the prep zone. On the way, Yahello asks about the insane move to literally blow up a mall, and his partner confirms how massively messed up the situation really is. The guide reveals a device that straight up drains hunters' powers, leaving them critically injured or even dropping them dead, which is exactly how the scavengers terrorize the underworld. Checking out the gadget, he tries to piece together how this illegal tech links up to the terrorist crew he's planning to crush. Yahello and the guide plot their next move, and she gives him a heads up that their main investigation target is about to show up. Then the one responsible for all this mess drops in. A purple-haired woman the government completely hides from the world, only known as Omega. Asking about her powers, Yahello finds out the woman can literally manipulate time, rewinding absolutely anything by 5 seconds. The young guy is completely mindblown by such a broken OP skill, and his partner doubles down that this is exactly why the scavengers are hunting Omega no matter what. She has zero clue how they actually leaked Omega's identity, but they're so desperate they straight up massacred everyone in the Midnight District just to track her down. The vibe gets super heavy when an alert confirms the hunter's main target is hiding right there inside the building. Seo Yul breaks down the hostage situation with his partner, figuring that if the enemies are still holding people captive, they probably haven't bagged the girl yet, but he isn't totally sure. To dodge all that tension, the young guy just makes up a bathroom excuse and bolts, leaving his partner totally hanging. But honestly, the whole bathroom thing is just a cover so he can sneak off and rescue the girl right this second. His partner tries to stop him, completely shocked by how reckless he is for running off solo without a single game plan or backup, mocking the whole setup. She insists the hunters aren't going to show up, claiming they care way too much about their rep to risk civilians getting caught in the crossfire. Out of nowhere, a guy taps her right on the shoulder and drops a cold, "You're actually right." He tries to justify the rush by blaming the squad's heavy workload and introduces himself as the Vice Chief of Seoul. Our kid shoots the director a totally cold glare, officially marking their unexpected reunion. The director holds a dead steady glare and an ice-cold tone, making it crystal clear he absolutely didn't come here to play games. A mysterious guy pulls up holding a heavy weapon, dropping a quick warning, nobody should jump in just cause some bugs showed up. With a super heavy vibe, he points his weapon and checks out the bodies on the floor, proving he has zero mercy even for unawakened people. Laying down the law, he says their absolute only shot at survival is following every single order from the attackers. Locked in on wrapping up the job, the goon confirms the mission and gears up to drag the hostages straight to Elena. Pissed off about having to play babysitter, the hooded guy snaps and demands to know if more guild backup is on the way. Flexing a massive superiority complex, he waves off the idea of reinforcements, claiming the major guilds are way too logical and have zero guts. Hyper-focused on the goal, the goon brushes off the lack of resistance, treating the whole thing like an annoying chore without wasting time on guessing games. Sticking to the game plan, the man orders his underling to keep an eye on the surface while he drains the prisoner's skills. Smirking, Elena flexes a high-tech device while looking at the neutralized hostages. Stomping hard with her combat boot, she goes on high alert, just waiting for the kid to pull up and grab his mom's meds. Out of nowhere, a brand new hooded guy with a bat steps in, demanding the hostages spill exactly where Omega is hiding. Feeling the heady pressure, one of the hostages looks away, absolutely terrified and trying to piece together what's going down. Catching that she tried to play it cool, the invader mocks her and locks eyes, ordering her to stop looking around. And that's where it gets crazy. The guy unleashes a brutal strike right into the hostage zone, proving he has absolutely zero patience for games. The dust kicks up and he charges ruthlessly right at the cornered prisoners. But out of nowhere, an agile counterattack completely intercepts the strike, proving the ally isn't gonna let that slide. Sliding smoothly through the air, our MC uses the building's framework to slow down and lock into a fighting stance. The white-bearded veteran complains that enemies always show up at the absolute worst time, instantly getting a sharp comeback. Mocking them, the protagonist strikes a confident pose while a blue aura crackles on his weapon, asking exactly who the bugs are. Confirming the suspicions, the ally breaks down that the elite hunters are way too busy while everyone else just gets bodied by the scavengers. Milking the vibe, the young guy drops a question that corners everyone, perfectly setting the stage. Completely shook, the veteran stares at the kid, seriously doubting if he can actually handle this whole mess solo. With a sarcastic smirk, our MC cuts the chat and states he wouldn't even be here if he couldn't pull it off. Faced with all that swagger, the veteran drops a cynical smile, genuinely impressed by the absolute confidence the kid is flexing. Challenging the boy, the veteran points straight at the horizon, demanding to see if all that big talk actually holds up in a real fight. No hesitation, the protagonist charges in with everything he has, forcing the veteran to block on the spot. Landing a crisp precision strike, he jams his weapon to stop the charge, proving he definitely wasn't playing around. Smashing a heavy punch right into the director's face, our MC shows off an absolutely cracked level of speed. Reacting scary fast, the director isn't letting that slide, and fires back with a brutal counter that makes things super rough for the kid. With his eyes glowing a bright yellow, the director drops a sarcastic comment about his fighting spirit. And man, the tension really spikes. Taking the hit head-on, the boy gets violently launched backward by the opponent's absolute crushing pressure. Keeping his mocking smile, he makes it crystal clear his determination just leveled up and he's about to crank this fight into overdrive. Totally shocked, the veteran realizes his math on the kid's power level was completely off. visibly mind-blown. He questions if that boy is really just some basic desk jockey hunter. Desperate and watching the tables turn, the veteran charges in, literally sparking with pure fury. Realizing hand-to-hand combat isn't cutting it, he plays dirty and uses the hostages as leverage to back the kid down. The impact echoes out, sparking a shockwave that blasts dust everywhere, showing off the insane level of strength. Without missing a single beat, our protagonist blocks the charge, proving he's operating on a completely different tier. Totally unhinged by frustration, the veteran curses out of pure hate after watching his upper hand completely vanish. Striking with monumental force, our MC makes the ground violently shake and sends his opponent crashing to the floor. Taking total control of the situation, the kid stares down the floored veteran while checking out the massive wreckage all around them. Watching the whole thing go down, the crowd starts whispering, completely shook as they recognize the famous internet hunter. Killing the tension, our protagonist just says Omega, officially dropping his true identity. Keeping the vibe of someone who has zero time to waste, he orders everybody to take cover, promising he's got the rest handled. Catching the order, the victim just nods, instantly accepting the command without a second thought. Face to face with him, Soyul admits the kid's hype is totally real and his power is genuinely terrifying. Annoyed, the protagonist drops all respect and demands to know who gave him the green light to get anywhere near the hostages. One of the scavengers keeps a highly calculated stance and greets the boy with a sarcastic tone, acknowledging who actually runs this spot. Cutting the small talk, he warns it's officially time to lock in on what actually matters. Visibly pissed at the audacity, he drops an ice-cold sentence: whoever lost control is getting completely punished. Wasting zero time, the young guy drops a heavy warning: if anyone hears a beep, the collar instantly blows up. The girl hears that and pure panic sets in, knowing her life is literally hanging by a thread right now. Omega stays ice-cold and drops the truth: any tragedy hitting the hostages is entirely the hero's fault for showing up. The civilian figures out he just became the main target and decides to make a move, even knowing it's a massively risky play. Flashing a mocking smile, Omega declares the chat is officially over and orders a check on the collars. The girl feels a total chill and grabs her neck, completely shook by how brutal the threat actually is. Unbelievably, the bombs literally start vanishing into thin air right in front of her eyes. Nobody has a clue what's going on. Panic hits hard, and they all desperately check their collars, gasping for air. Milking the panic, Omega sarcastically breaks down that the Bureau actually has full access to all of this. Right there, we get into the details. The world is basically split between basic hunters and the elite tier. Those elites get direct backing from constellations, literal divine beings dropping insane power spikes. And just like that, everything changed, because they basically become untouchable, completely taken over by the constellation's glow. The crowd comes sprinting in, while the basic hunters are left entirely trapped by the system's rules. The leader and his disciples step into the story, flexing powers completely funded by cosmic entities. That connection basically guarantees a super fast level up, but it all completely relies on that special contract. The absolute universal rule: if the system demands it, the user's skill gets instantly disabled on the spot. Total chaos hits when their techniques fail, leaving the guys completely exposed to the monsters. Pissed off at the radio, the hunter grips the device super tight, cursing out of pure rage. The man, totally outraged, demands to know if the game plan is really to blow the whole building up the second they dip. Looking around, one of the goons realizes they're completely boxed in and wonders how the Bureau even tracked them. Omega pops up, analyzing the scene, trying to figure out if they called in backup or actually made a pact. Brutal impacts make absolutely everything shake when Omega's power explodes in one precision strike. Insectoid creatures pop out of nowhere, making the situation totally unmanageable for absolutely everyone. Look at what's going down. A massive horde of these red-eyed monsters completely terrifies the invaders. Faced with this assault, the masked guy hits full panic mode, watching Zauger pull up to wreck absolutely everything. Giant flames completely swallow the zone, reducing the whole map to a literal sea of fire. Chunks of concrete fly everywhere, forcing the building's entire structure to cave in. Elena feels the ground violently shake and realizes the chaos up top just hit its absolute limit. Accepting there's zero turning back, he sticks hard to his final call. While the whole place turns to ash, the villain smirks, fully prepped for an absolute massacre. With a purple glow radiating from her weapon, the girl makes it crystal clear absolutely nobody is making it out of here. Popping out of the shadows like a total ghost, Yoon Se-yeon steps up to stare down the danger. She tells her partner she came here to prove she's actually built different, demanding a mission right now. Omega lays out the game plan. He's taking the mid-floors and leaving the lower levels entirely to her. Pulling up with heavy momentum, Yoon Se-yeon steps to the villain with one crystal clear priority. Being super sarcastic, the opponent asks if she actually had the guts to pull up without even flexing her killing intent. Shattering the silence, the girl charges in with a technique that makes the very air vibrate. With a crazy fast move, she unloads a sword strike, forcing an instant reaction from the enemy. Brutal impacts carve deep cracks into the walls from the sheer energy of the clash. Using Elena like a literal meat shield, she forces Yoon Seo-yeon to dial back her attacks, breaking down her opponent's stance. Yoon Seo-yeon figures out she's dealing with a totally pro assassin. Elena watches the whole thing super tense, feeling like a massive reveal is about to completely flip this duel. Taunting her rival, the villain totally clowns the idea that she could ever actually capture her. Milking the distraction, two hooded guys rush in fast to throw down with the beasts. Furious at the administration, they demand Elena fall back immediately to secure the item. Absolutely outraged, the goon screams, demanding to know where Omega is and why they sparked so much chaos. Hiding under the hood, another goon shoots a furious glare, totally pissed off about everything. Taking a direct heavy hit, he lets out a scream of absolute agony from the strike. Completely dazed, he drops the intel that Omega got bagged by that administration guy. Super sarcastic, the goon dares the opponent to try and rescue the girl, if he actually has the guts. He drops a massive reality check on his ally, warning that saving the hostage is literal suicide, since the guy guarding the exit is way too OP for them. Sick of the small talk, the guy shuts the conversation down and orders them to focus on reaching Elena right now. Getting zero response, he vents that he's been trying to hit the girl up for a minute without any luck. Super annoyed, he starts guessing she's either ghosting everyone, or, even worse, she's already dead. He takes total control and grips the doorknob tight. They absolutely need to hit the capsule before the clock runs out. Pushing through the dark hallways, the crew member moves to the shadows, with a goon trailing right behind him. With a lightning-fast precision strike, the blade slices through the air, completely chopping the cables blocking their path. Popping out of nowhere, the guy stares the crew down and demands to know who the intruders are. Keeping her cool, she claims she's here on the assistant manager's orders and tells the crew to bounce. The threat is completely obvious, so the team gears up for whatever is hiding behind that door. Watching the scene, Elena totally clowns the weak attempt to protect the group. Super sarcastic, she asks if they actually have a big brain play, considering there are explosives strapped to everyone's neck. The guy instantly finds it super weird. The explosive collars just straight up vanished. Realizing absolute chaos just took over, he tries to keep his cool while admitting the situation is totally out of control, and bailing is the only move. Having zero patience left, Elena decides the fastest play is just to wipe everyone out before they can even escape. Yoon Se-yeon decides to face the mess head-on and orders the evac, swearing to hold off the villain solo. And incredibly, he mocks the crew, asking if numbers actually matter anyway. Going full brutal, Elena charges in with a sinister energy, making it obvious she absolutely isn't playing around. Yoon Se-yeon sprints to block Elena from landing a hit on anyone in the group. Right there, the two clash with absolute force, and the energy from the impact blows everybody backward. She flashes a sadistic smirk, realizing she finally found someone with the killer intent she's been looking for. Hiding under the hood, she keeps an ice-cold stare. The fight barely started, and he is totally ready for whatever comes next. Blindingly fast moves define the duel, with the blade spinning so precisely that even one slip-up is an instant game over. Sparks go flying everywhere, proving neither of them is holding back their power at all. Spotting an opening, Elena goes for a lethal strike, getting Yoon Se-yeon even more hyped up. Totally disoriented by the chaos, the allies hit full panic mode after losing their targets in the thick smokescreen. The ally takes on the heavy task of managing the hostage evac while the fight is literally popping off right next to them. Right in the middle of the mess, the girl suddenly stops, getting an urgent message from the assistant. The guy shows up totally stressed, complaining that his partner literally always picks the absolute worst time to call. Losing his patience completely, he orders everyone to get out of there right now so they don't become collateral damage in this clash. Elena feels the vibe totally shift, realizing the crew is about to bail and leave her solo right in the crossfire. Furious that they're trying to escape, Elena completely blocks the path with a terrifying glare. Elena tries to keep her cool even while cornered, as the girl asks if the villain wouldn't rather just look away. Without a word, the woman drops a strike completely wrapped in purple energy, forcing Elena to dump everything she has just to block it. Brutal impacts make Elena totally lose her footing, while the girl's pressure just keeps ramping up mercilessly. Fighting hard not to get crushed, Elena can barely tank the sheer brute force of the incoming attack. The purple glow slices right through the air, violently slamming the defender's body straight into the ground. Annoyed by the pushback, Elena stomps the floor hard, making it crystal clear she refuses to be completely overpowered. And that's where the villain drops a heavy taunt, accusing her opponent of relying on cheap tricks while keeping the pressure high. Taking the hit straight on, Elena tries to hold her guard, feeling the force getting almost impossible to tank. energy explosions completely light up the zone, forcing the girl to fall back. Floored and totally drained, Elena is now standing tall, victorious and menacing, hovering right over the woman. Going full sadistic, Elena smirks and reveals she isn't just draining her energy, but her actual life force too. Eager to wrap things up fast, she coldly announces Elena's mission officially ends right here, leaving the girl totally confused. So Yule takes the chance to drop a hint to the hunter, saying if he's actually an assassin, he should be listening to the zone after the evac. Ignoring the warning about the hostages, Elena makes it obvious that saving those people won't change their tragic fate at all. A purple aura flares up, revealing the girl with an ice-cold glare, swearing that absolutely nothing is going to go according to plan. Kneeling right on the battlefield, Omega pulls up, totally ready to step in personally. Omega flashes an intimidating smirk and asks if they're actually ready to explore the new maze. The system boots up the Phantom Labyrinth, confirming on-screen that the challenge has officially started. An intense glow completely wraps around Elena, while the energy around her finally starts to stabilize. An object pops out of the ground with glowing runes, completely shifting the entire landscape. Elena can barely keep up, having absolutely zero clue what's going down right now. She completely freezes up, watching reality literally get rewritten right in front of her eyes. A hooded guy pops out, totally shook to find the girl still breathing. Confused, she asks where they even are, only to find out they're literally trapped inside his skill. Right then, the guy confirms the danger with a super tense glare over all that chaos. And just like that, everything changed, because they realized the place just turned into an infinite maze.